Welcome everyone to tonight's council meeting for Monday, the 8th of December 2025. We have a public forum to start proceedings. I must start by speaking to the recording of the public forum. This, in the spirit of open, accessible and transparent government, public forums are video recorded and webcast. By speaking at a public forum, members of the public agree to being recorded and webcast. Albury City accepts no liability for any defamatory, discriminatory or offensive remarks or gestures that are made during the course of the council or committee meeting. Opinions expressed or statements made by individuals, the opinions of statements of those individuals do not imply any form of endorsement by Albury City. Recordings are protected by copyright and owned by Albury City. No part may be copied, recorded, reproduced or transmitted without the prior written consent the Chief Executive Officer. Any recording is not and shall not be taken to be an official record of Albury City or discussion depicted therein. Okay, conflict of interest declarations received by the Chair. I've not been made aware of any. Ms. Leopold?
No, not made aware of any at the moment.
Thank you. Okay, we have speakers PF3. We have PF3.1. Sally Handy, CM 13.2 DA 10.2025.41660, dual occupancy in 2 Lot Torrens title subdivision, 2 Winterfold Road, 88 Springview Drive, Willinga, speaking against the recommendation. Thank you, Ms. Handy.
Good evening, Mayor Mac, councillors, staff and members of the community. I stand here before you tonight as the Secretary of the Goonawillingo Community Action Group and as a representative of the concerned residents of Springview Estate to voice a strong opposition to this DA at 2 Winterfold Road and the ongoing subdivision of lots within the neighbourhood. When Springview Estate was originally planned, it was clear that the intention was to create a community of larger lifestyle lots, spaces where families had room to grow and connect with nature. This vision was not only passed by council, but it was also the foundation upon which residents made their decision to invest in this area. They bought the land and built their houses with the understanding that the entire estate would maintain this character and provide a consistent open lifestyle for all. However, this vision is under threat. Since the initial approval, at least 6 lots have been subdivided, not just this 1 or 2. It is not a minor adjustment, it's a fundamental shift that undermines the original intent for the community. The cumulative effect of these subdivisions is changing the very fabric of Springview Estate, introducing smaller lots, increasing density and the possibility even of townhouses or multi-storey. This is development by stealth, changing the neighbourhood piece by piece. For those considering buying into Springview Estate, clarity and consistency in planning should be a given. Families expect to move into a community that offers what was promised, not one that is subject to change. In design and density, the ongoing subdivisions not only break this trust, but also jeopardise the quality of life for all existing and future residents. Furthermore, the estate has not even been completed to the extent that to achieve a subdivision certificate. Any development approved should remain true to its original approved design, at the very least to that stage. It should reflect what the community was promised and what was approved by council. In this DA, the 2 lots, neither of them meet the DCP minimum requirements of 450 square metres. One is 374 and the other 418 square metres. While it's true that clause 4.1 of the Albury LEP allows for a request of variance in housing diversity, it is allowed provided it does not adversely impact on residential amenity. This request for variance in lot sizes does not satisfy the clause because the requested variance does adversely impact on residential amenity. That's illustrated by the number of residents who are standing up and objecting to the DA. Beyond aesthetics and property values, these changes will have tangible impacts on the community. Increased density means greater demand on infrastructure, traffic congestion will worsen with more cars per block and insufficient road width to accommodate the increase on-street parking. It's a safety risk and it's seen in other developments such as Brooklyn Fields. The loss of space for street trees is another critical issue. Smaller frontages, lot sizes, more vehicles means less room for greenery, resulting in fewer trees and a diminished canopy cover. This contributes, as you know, to the heat island effect, making the estate hotter, less present and less sustainable. Such an outcome directly contradicts the stated plans of Albury City Council to enhance vegetation and livability throughout Thurgoona, Willinga and Albury through the urban forest strategy. If this variance is allowed, it disregards the DCP and further erodes confidence in the planning process. It makes one wonder why so much work and effort has been put into the Thurgoona Willinga Precinct Structure Plan or any particular subdivision if it can be just changed later because it meets some absolute minimum requirement. In closing, we urge the Council to honour the original vision for Springview Estate. Let us preserve the open, family-friendly environment that makes the community special. Ongoing subdivision is not just a technical change, it's a breach of trust. We urge you, our elected councillors, to make a decision on this DA that will help protect the integrity of Springview Estate and the wider Thurgoona Willinga precinct. Thank you for your attention and for your considering the voices of Springview Estate residents and TCAG that is supporting them. Together we can ensure that this neighbourhood and others remain a place where residents are proud to call home and is in its true original vision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hendy. Questions, councillors? No? Okay. Thanks for your presentation. Okay, PF 3.2, Michaela Pascaluti, CM 13.2, DA 10225 41660.1, dual occupancy and 2-lot Torrens Title subdivision, 2 Winterfold Road and 88 Springview Drive, Willinga. Speaking against the recommendation. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, councillors and community members. My name is Michaela Pascaluti and I'm speaking tonight as a resident of Springview Estate, but also on behalf of my neighbours who are here tonight and a number of other residents who share the same concerns about the dual occupancy subdivision. I also speak as an investor and a landlord who absolutely understands the need for housing and responsible growth. I like pictures, so I'm going to have to subject you to some pictures and hopefully this will work. So currently on the left is the estate that we reside in and the existing homes, and to the right is stage 5 where the proposed development for this subdivision is. My family and I moved to Springview Estate in 2023 after more than 2 years of searching for the right home. We moved from Tura Beach on the south coast where we lived on a half-acre lifestyle block surrounded by similar sized allotments. Over time, those lifestyle blocks were subdivided into smaller lots of 500 square metres, and it dramatically changed the peaceful character of that area. We watched this shift happen, and when we made the decision to move back to Albury-Wodonga, it took us a really long time to search for the perfect block that had enough size for a 4-bedroom home, 2 kids, 2 dogs, and all the things that sort of lifestyle enables. We wanted to give our kids the opportunity to be raised how we grew up. And we thought that was just a dream. And when we purchased Springview Estate, we were sold and promised a lifestyle precinct, the larger blocks, quieter streets, room for families to grow, parks and safe spaces where children can play freely. And we weren't naive about this, but it really has become our reality. These are our neighbours from the first year that we moved in. The kids were out there playing in the street. At the second Christmas, everybody out the front with dressing up as Santa Claus and using the park for events and family gatherings. So currently, I have some amazing neighbours that are here tonight. People go for walks in the evening, stop, have a chat. Kids are outside running in each other's houses, playing till dark, just like many of us, how we grew up. Every afternoon, they're playing cricket, basketball and roaming freely. And at last count yesterday, there are 11 basketball hoops in our estate that kids hang out after school and on the weekends. So Springview Estate really is a genuine community, healthy, safe, and really connected. This and other proposed dual occupancy developments threatens that character. It introduces a shift towards higher density housing that simply just doesn't align with the intended purpose of the estate. And while I'm not against rental properties, we have a couple of rentals right across the road, we have also seen the reality of high turnover in those homes. With rental prices between $600 and $800 a week, this has often resulted in 6 to 8 people sharing a home with 4 to 6 vehicles per property. This creates congestion, overflow parking, and a very different street experience. And this is currently what we're experiencing at the moment. We acknowledge that smaller blocks do have a place, but there are already many surrounding estates designed specifically for higher density. So the question is, why place dual occupancies in the one of the very few remaining lifestyle estates built for larger blocks? In summary, our major concerns are loss of lifestyle and estate character, the traffic and safety impacts, and the strain on amenities that higher density introduces pressures on this estate that wasn't originally planned for to absorb. We're not against development. We support the responsible development that places the right housing types in the right location, protects safe community streets where kids can play, and supports long-term neighbourhood connections, and maintains the identity and purpose of lifestyle precincts, in particular our one that's become so dear to our hearts. So tonight we respectfully ask Council to defer or reject this DA in its current form and identify and protect Springview Estate as a lifestyle precinct, directing dual occupancy proposals towards the many areas already earmarked for higher density. Thank you for your time and for listening and getting to know a little bit about our street and estate, but not just to our objections, but to the community's vision for how this area should be preserved and to grow with planning, safety, and with the identity at the centre. Thank you.
Thank you. Question from Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you for your presentation this evening, Michaela. I'm just hoping you definitely touched on some of those pressures that you experienced. I was hoping you could probably highlight the change of livability that you experienced before you moved to Albury and what that looked like. Thank you.
So where I lived previously? Yeah, so we were in a beautiful coastal area overseeing the beach. We had a half an acre lot. Some of the lots near us were acre lots and other half acre lots. There were still a number of vacant blocks surrounding us. And once one application for a subdivision went in, so we had 4 townhouses, I think they were, or villas, directly behind us. It had a small driveway, the cars were going up and down. Our house was a double story looking right into it. Then the other 2 blocks on either side, they were all approved as well, and we would have been surrounded. So the top half of the street were beautiful large lots. And then we just became surrounded with smaller 500 square metre blocks. And that safety just wasn't there for the kids to be playing outside with the increase in traffic. We had a single lane road right in front of our house. So it did really impact. And I just watch our kids playing in the street, and they were there tonight playing basketball, kicking the balls. Everybody drives slowly, takes care, but that increase is a concern.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, no further questions. Thanks, Michaela, for your presentation. Okay, we have the next speaker is 13.3, David Hunter and Diane Lynch, CMA 13.3 DA 10.2025.41401.1, 2-lot Torrens Title Subdivision 843 Pearsall Street, Hamilton Valley, speaking against the recommendation. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks very much for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. Up on the screen, you're seeing a picture of my husband and my family home and property. We bought this land in 2013 off the Albury-Wodonga Development Corporation with the intention to build our family home, which you can see is the house that's displayed. And knowing that that property was zoned R1 for future development, We felt that it would be a great place to live and raise our children, but also great potential for subdivision in the future as part of our retirement and superannuation plan. As kids do, they grew up and moved away from home. Our son Max returned about 18 months ago with his fiancée Izzy, having been in Melbourne for the last 8 years. They've lived with us for that time while they're sort of deciding whether Albury's the place for them to put down roots. They've fallen in love with both Albury and with where we live. They came to us about a year ago and asked whether it would be possible to get a small amount of land. This is a 15-acre block of land. And we said, absolutely, we'd be delighted to have our son and his partner live with us and hopefully grandkids in the future. And we would love to have them as our neighbours. So we pursued the option with Habitat Planning and David of having a small subdivision, which is the lot that you can see on the right-hand side at the very back of the block. The reason for that part of the land is pretty self-explanatory. It's right beside our house, and it retains availability of the rest of the land for what our intended purpose was, which is future subdivision at a time when we need money for our super for retirement, I guess, and it maximises the space available. David, would you like to?
Yeah, just quickly, from a technical perspective, we believe this can and should be approved. There's a number of reasons in the council report, which I'll address quickly. In relation to the access, as we've said, there was a deliberate reason not to do a battle axe, and that was to preserve and maximise the development potential beyond this lot. So create a lot in an area we believe would be compliant with the future subdivision form, but still provide a legal mechanism of access. The RFS has agreed to that. They've applied general terms of approval, and from an engineering perspective, that will need to be justified, and we'll need to justify the relevant standards in order to comply with subdivision certificate. The servicing of the site is also a consideration. The size of the lot and the placement of the lot was done in consultation with a land capability assessment, which determined through technical analysis that size and that placement of disposal areas with those setbacks could be provided. The other matter which is critical to the consideration is around the covenant that applies to the land. Under the LEP, there is provision for the covenants to be set aside where a development potential or where a development outcome can be progressed. In our view, the purpose of the covenant was in recognition of a larger scale urban development of this land. One lot at 4,500 square metres that can be serviced on site is not the intended density that covenant anticipated. Certainly in the future, development is likely to reach that density, and the covenant is there, which provides that discretionary decision making about the scale and intensity of urban services that will be required.
Can I add to that and simply say that, of course, in future, when a full-scale subdivision of multiple lots would be available on this, then of course you'd want sealed roads, you'd want access to main sewerage, you want all of the things that you would expect of a large developer. We are not developers. We are a family who simply would like the opportunity to have our son and his chosen partner living beside us on a smallish size block that just makes sense as a family to enjoy your life. It's, and when it's sold to a developer down the track, which, of course it will, that's the purpose of the block of land, then of course you would require everything and we would have no objections to that. But our son can't build a house without having a subdivided piece of land, because he can't get a loan from a bank unless he owns that piece of land. And so that means that we really are required, we have to subdivide it, otherwise it's just not doable. So which is why we only want one small piece of land subdivided for him, and why we're not pursuing a full development. We're not developers. We won't be developing that site. Someone in the future will absolutely be doing that, but that won't be us as homeowners and mums and dads who just want to live next to their son. Thank you. Sorry. I talked too long. Anything else?
She's got the double beep. Okay, thank you, David and Di. First question, councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. Through you, I actually have two questions. One is to Diane and one is to the most relevant member of staff. Thanks for your presentation, Diane and David. You've done the land capability assessment and the staff have acknowledged that, but they've raised concerns about the sewage disposal. Are you able to respond to the concerns that the staff have?
That side of Pearsall Street from our block on is on a septic or a similar. The proposal here is there is sufficient land that they can simply do a septic. Our house uses a septic and works very well. It doesn't require tapping into a mains to have one small house with access to its own septic. And that is, there's been subsequent houses built since we bought this land. They are also on a septic.
Thank you. I understand that as a follow-up. I think the concern to me, it seems to me from the staff, is that there isn't sufficient land to actually accommodate that that disposal. So can you respond to that?
The land capability, it refers to, I think you're talking about, there's a 40-metre setback and a 6-metre setback. So those standards can be varied where justified. In the LCA, it talks about a technical analysis of what setback is required, and it determines through a technical thing that I cannot explain that 17 metres is a suitable distance. And then it applies a safety factor of 2, which doubles that to 34. And that's where it's ended up with the suitable distance from the boundaries.
Thank you. Question for staff. My question relates to the covenant in relation to future subdivision where we can expect higher densities at some point in the future. Would allowing this development application this evening, would it set any kind of precedent which would somehow nullify the covenant, or would that still apply to future subdivision down the track?
Mr. Christie.
Thank you for the question, and for you, Mayor Mac. So yes, the covenant which was put on, we go back for a little bit of history. The corporation, when they were excising off the environmental lands, as the corporation was winding up, they excised off those environmental lands, which then also created a number of remnant residential parcels. It was considered unreasonable at that stage to require the corporation to provide servicing to all those parcels. And so therefore the covenant was considered an appropriate approach to recognise that those parcels existed, but no servicing had been provided to them, which would normally be an expectation for general residential zone land at that point in time, and still now. So that's a bit of history as to what occurred. Obviously, there has been the ability for A dwellings and some occupancy on this site, and that's how councils generally consistently approach these matters. And we've had similar matter up at 823 Logan Road, which a previous council dealt with, where we considered the same thing around the original house was built, but then anything past that was considered the trigger to say, well, this is further residential development other than what would normally have been envisaged when the parcel was first purchased. As I said, with recollection of the fact that the block wasn't created as a residential block, same as a number of others with the corporation. The subdivision excised off environmental lands and therefore left remnant residential development parcels. So in regards to the covenant, that's how council staff have interpreted that. That had been reinforced again through, as I said, previous decision of council on 823 Logan Road, which was refused initially by staff under delegation, was a review of determination, came to council and refused by council. Precedent is always a very difficult word to use in planning because so many factors come into an individual planning decision that precedent isn't as such, but obviously previous decisions can influence future decisions and in consideration of those same impacts through from our end. So from our end, technically it does not create a precedent, but with consideration to the fact of the purpose of the parcel, there has been the opportunity to do some residential development of the parcel, as would normally be envisaged. Now it's going past that point, hence council staff's recommendation that sewer is available in the vicinity. There's a couple of separate sewer points depending on whether you go further down Pearsall Street or if you need to go across private land on the other side of Pearsall Street. And so therefore a recommendation is that it requires to be serviced as would normally be expected for residential zone, general zone land, as opposed to R5 or other land where generally on-site septic may be considered more appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you for your presentation this evening. I'm just hoping you can explain in your terms what you believe is happening around you. I'm looking here now at your property and can see some substantial development and potentially your neighbours have subdivided. I'm not sure if that's correct.
On the east side exit point, there is a small subdivision that's gone in there of 8 blocks. Those 8 blocks have an access road that exits onto Pearsall Street. There is a sewer connection past their blocks on the other side. So for us to connect to mains, you're talking about a very costly exercise requiring to go under Pearsall Street in order to do that. Septic is not at our the front on Pearsall Street at our property. And in order to do that, you would be not only having to get permission from neighbours, but you're going a very long distance to connect to a main system, one house, which given every other property on Pearsall Street has a septic, seems a little extreme. And also already out of precedent because of the fact that other properties on Pearsall Street have not connected to the mains. If the mains was genuinely available at our doorstep, you know, in my opinion, council planners would have a stronger argument, but it's not. It's a highly expensive exercise to drill under Pearsall Street Road and to then seek permission and who knows what negotiation with other landowners to get access to the mains. I don't think it's a viable or sensible approach.
Thank you.
Councillor Bullivan.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. A question to the relevant member of staff. Given that there is septics on the south side of Pearsall Street pre-existing, is there any grandfather clauses or like from legacy days of Hume Shire Development Corporation that could come up with this proposed development?
Mr. Christie.
Thank you for the question, and for you, Mayor Mac. I can't talk obviously what may have been Hume Shire or the like. What we can talk through is obviously the covenant which was in place at that point in time, which put in the expectations around normal residential services. As I said earlier too, there has been some development in that area where councils recognised that first dwelling, so to speak, in essence, and the ability for it to be able to utilise without the need to provide sewer up to the site. But the only thing I can go from is our precedence on an other council's decision, in context of what I said about precedent earlier. And that 823 Logan Road was to extend the sewer from the other side of Logan Road up to Birch Street, which was a significant distance. But as consideration of the fact that it is residential zone land, the intention of that residential zone land is for it to be developed to residential standards for subdivision and size, and so therefore those services are required.
Thank you.
Okay. Question, Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. My question is actually to you to seek a ruling. And I want to stress this is in no way a criticism of Councillor Hudson or Councillor Bullivant. And I'm not seeking to persecute them in what they've done tonight. But I believe in the interests of good order and efficient running of council, I'd ask you to consider whether you should continue to permit councillors to ask questions of staff during this phase of the meeting. Questions of staff to these substantive matters should properly come, I believe, during the debate on the substantial item. The purpose of this part of our meeting is to, of course, ask questions of those who care to present and taken the time to present. And I compliment you on your presentation on these important matters. And questions of the presenters is entirely in order, I think. But could you please make it known what your opinion is as chairperson, Mayor Mac? I would submit respectfully to you and my fellow councillors that questions of staff should come during the substantial debate.
Yeah, well, I can understand that, and being this the first time it's been raised, I'm happy to consider that and expect those questions be asked in the general meeting. Thank you. Question from Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Through you to the speaker. Thank you for your presentation. You have alluded to costly, how costly it would be to drill under Pearsall Street. How big is costly? Do you have a figure, or is it just costly?
Don't have a figure. But I mean, it goes without saying, creating one lot and providing servicing of that scale generally is not, it's cost prohibitive. Doing a development of a greater scale and to a density of, the minimum lot size is 300 square meters. I don't think that sort of density is achievable on this site. It's quite steep, as you can see from the contours on there, but a scale of greater than one lot would probably warrant the investment of services, but not for one lot.
Okay, there appears to be no further questions for yourselves or the staff. I'm happy to thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we're up to 13.4. David Thurley, CM9, notice of motion, potential discrimination in the New South Wales Government Model Code of Meeting Practice in relation to remote attendance at council and committee meetings. Speaking for the motion. Thank you, former councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor Mack and councillors. Yes, I do wish to speak strongly in favour of Councillor Glacken's motion regarding the changes to the New South Wales Model Code of Meeting Practice. And I want to speak very strongly about this. I must say that right from the outset, I'm extremely disappointed that this motion is even necessary. As a councillor just a few years ago, I and fellow councillors let the government know in no uncertain terms that attendance at meetings by councillors should be allowed by audio-visual link. They listened then, but here we go again. Let me tell councillors that I've written to the Minister for Local Government, the Honourable Ron Hernig, setting out my serious concerns at the changes. As a former mayor of Botany Bay Council for 30 years, I would have hoped that Minister Hernig's understanding of the pressures and responsibilities on councillors would have told him that these changes are a very retrograde step. Attendance by audio-visual link is now to be restricted to a very limited number of circumstances, namely illness or carers' responsibilities. So let's consider a councillor who's absent but on council business. You can't join remotely. What about a councillor who works at a remote site and needs to drive more than 4 hours to get to the council meeting and 4 hours to return to his place of work? Too bad, councillor. What about dedicated councillors who, even while on holidays overseas, want to attend the meeting? Sorry, your dedication is not valued or accepted. I encourage all councillors to support Councillor Glacken's motion, to contact the Minister and to encourage all other councillors across New South Wales to speak out loud and clear. This is ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, councillors? Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you for your presentation, David. You are an experienced former councillor, and obviously were in a position where remote online wasn't a thing, and then it was introduced, I understand. So you've known both sides of the, and can you give us some benefits that you've seen over your time as a councillor?
Councillor can attend every meeting whenever they like. I was, at least on 2 occasions, doing council business, either at a conference or at another meeting, and I could still log into the meeting and participate in the debate. We know we've had Councillor Baker and Councillor Glacken overseas, and they've logged into meetings. If there was an important issue and you wanted to be involved, you're not going to come back from overseas. So I think that these changes, they're no fit with modern circumstances. Everyone's encouraging people to work from home and to be efficient, and yet here's the Minister saying, no, you've all got to be in the council chamber, no matter what, or except if you're ill.
Thank you.
Okay, that's short and sharp. Thank you,
Thank you.
former councillor Thurley. Thank you for your presentation. Pardon? Former deputy mayor. Thank you, councillor Cameron. Okay, let's move into the greater section of this meeting, and we'll start with the opening affirmation. Thank you, councillor Callaghan, wasn't it?
Aye.
No, who did I give the other one to? Oh, councillor Bukowski, see, getting immersed in the discussion. Thank you.
We gather to represent the people of Albury who have entrusted us with this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, wisdom and common sense. May our personal values give us honesty and courage to serve our community effectively and with respect for all.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan, acknowledgement of country.
Thank you. We would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people as the traditional custodians of the land that we meet upon today and pay our respects to the elders past, present and future, for they hold the memories, culture and tradition and hopes of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that contribute to our community.
Thank you. Okay, recording and webcasting of meeting. This council meeting is being webcast and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to being recorded and webcast. Please ensure that if and when you are speaking at this council meeting that you are respectful of other people and use appropriate language. Albury City accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council meeting. An audio recording will be made for administrative purposes. Conflict of interest declarations received by the chair and disclosure of political donations. I have one conflict of interest declaration and it's from the acting CEO, Bridget Leopold. Nature of conflict of interest is pecuniary interest. And the consideration, it's in relation to the consideration of the acting CEO's position in the Merrill Minute. It is the 8th of December 25th council meeting. The action is to leave the meeting for the discussion and decision. Okay, Ms. Leopold.
Certainly. Advice to the council meeting in relation to disclosure of political donations and requirements of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979. The Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979, Section 10.4 requires a person submitting planning applications or submissions regarding a planning application to disclose any reportable political donation and/or gifts to any local councillor or employee of council. Reportable political donations include those of or above $1,000. The disclosure statement forms are available on Council's website or from the Customer Service Centre and must be lodged in accordance with the Act. The forms are also available at the back of the chamber during meetings. In dealing with development applications, councillors need to take into account specific planning matters contained in the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979. Accordingly, the provisions of Section 4.15(1) of that Act are set out in the Council Officer's report detailing planning issues to be considered. The Local Government Act 1993, Section 375A, requires that a division be called whenever a motion for a planning decision is put at a meeting of the council. Planning decision means a decision made in the exercise of a function of council under the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979, including a decision relating to a development application, an environmental planning instrument, a development control plan, or a development contribution plan that under the Act but not including in the making of an order under Division 9.3 of Part 9 of that Act.
Thank you. Okay, we have no apologies tonight. We're all accounted for. We certainly did not have any attendances by council meeting by audio visual link, CM 4.2. Now we're up to the Merrill Minute. I'll wait for Ms. Leopold to leave the chamber. Okay, thank you. Thank you, councillors, and I apologise for the late notice on this particular item. It was only presented late this afternoon when it was ratified, so it's a procedural issue. So it's just, I would say, a simple matter that needs to be dealt with in the chamber. This Merrill Minute is to appoint an acting chief executive officer in the absence of the CEO while on leave in accordance with council's delegation of authority instrument to the mayor. The council CEO, Frank Zaitnich, has taken a period of unplanned leave. Council's delegation of authority enables the mayor, on the recommendation of the CEO, to appoint one of the Albury City deputy CEOs to the temporary position of acting CEO for a period no longer than the date of the next council meeting, when council will either endorse a temporary appointment for such additional time as is necessary or appoint another deputy CEO to the temporary position. It is recommended that Bridget Leopold, Deputy CEO Infrastructure Planning Environment, be appointed as delegation to act as acting Chief Executive Officer and assume all functions, delegations and sub-delegations of the Chief Executive Officer for the period only of the absence of the Chief Executive Officer unless otherwise resolved by Council. So what I wish to move is that that Bridget Leopold, A, Deputy CEO, Infrastructure Planning Environment, be appointed as Acting Chief Executive Officer and assume all functions, delegations and sub-delegations of the Chief Executive Officer for the period only of the absence of the Chief Executive Officer, and B, that Council notes that under the instrument of delegation to the Mayor can appoint an Acting Chief Executive Officer, being one of the Albury City Deputy Chief Executive Officers, to the temporary position of Acting Chief Executive Officer for a period no longer than to the date of the next Council meeting as required. So happy to move that motion. Councillor Callaghan?
Happy to second, Mayor Mac.
Don't need one, but thank you. I'm happy to take questions on this particular item if councillors have any questions. No, all clear. Okay, I'm happy to move that motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. If we get Ms Leopold back in, that'd be great. Thank you, Ms Leopold. Let the meeting reflect that she has returned to the chair. Okay, so we'll resume and CM6 action plans. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Cameron?
I'd like to move the following action plans be received and noted. 1, actions complete for noting only. 2, actions awaiting response from external parties. 3, actions in progress. And 4, long-term issues, brackets, more than 3 months, close brackets.
Thank you. Councillor Bukowski?
I second the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron, do you wish to speak to those at all?
No, thank you.
Thank you. There appears to be no speakers for or against and no questions. Happy to move that motion. Is those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. Confirmation minutes of the previous meeting held on Monday, the 10th of November, 2025 at 6 p.m. Councillor Callaghan?
Happy to move the recommendation that the minutes of the council meeting held on Monday, the 10th of November, 2025 at 6 p.m. be confirmed.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron?
Second that motion, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan, do you wish to speak to that at all?
No, thank you.
Appears to be no further speakers or questions. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Reports from community forums. Yes, we have one. Thank you, Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I move that council receives notes and accepts the report from the community forum held on the 2025 at 6:02 p.m.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hudson, do you wish to speak to that at all?
Reserve my right.
Thank you. There appears to be no one speaking or asking questions. Do you wish to speak now or close debate?
Just that I think it was excellent. Thank you, Mayor Mac. That it was excellent to hold a community forum about such a momentous decision of council. The Thurgoona-Willinga Precinct Structure Plan is obviously a really impactful document. And I, for one, really appreciated the opportunity to hear from so many different members of our community stakeholders on it. And I would like to see us use the community forum more in the future.
Thank you. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, 9.2, notices of motions or rescissions. We start with Councillor Glacken. Councillor Glacken?
Thank you. It's a large recommendation. I would like to move that Council 1 notes with concern that the recent amendments to the Model Code of Meeting Practice for Local Government Councils in New South Wales are regressive and possibly discriminatory, particularly in relation to restricting councillor remote audio-visual attendance to only instances of ill health and unforeseen caring responsibilities. 2, recognises that these provisions could discriminate against dedicated, community-focused councillors working within their elected part-time roles who juggle their civic duties with employment, family and other community obligations, and that they fail to offer options for to meet modern flexible work practices as expected and available in many other modern workplace sectors. 3, supports wider options for remote councillor attendance at council and committee meetings via audio-visual link for legitimate and reasonable reasons that could be agreed as a councillor body, including but not limited to A, issues related to distance from the meeting, location on any given day, B, representing the council at external organisations, conferences, official and community events, C, being outside the local government area due to work or business commitments, D, absent due to family or personal responsibilities, and E, travelling or on personal leave, holidays, should the councillor choose to participate. 4, requests that the Minister provide clear guidance confirming that councillors participating remotely are deemed as present for quorum purposes, have the same obligations and rights, including voting, as those attending in person, with meetings to remain transparent via live stream or public recording. 5, make formal representation requesting urgent amendment to reflect wider options for the use of remote attendance by councillors to the Model Code of Meeting Practice to the Minister for Local Government, with copies to the Shadow Minister for Local Government, Member for Albury and Local Government New South Wales, outlining Council's position and calling for urgent amendment of the Model Code of Meeting Practice consistent with this resolution. Thank you.
Councillor Prokowski.
Happy to second the motion, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor Gleichen, do you wish to open debate?
Yes, unless there are any questions from councillors first.
No, it doesn't appear to be. There's a speaker for at this point.
All right, thank you very much. In essence, as a speaker this evening alluded to, this is somewhat of an archaic situation we find ourselves in. This is indeed the 21st century. And we as councillors, all 9 of us, have part-time roles that we have been elected for to participate in by our community as councillors. And that is the case for all councils across New South Wales. All roles are actually, in effect, part-time. It's not employment. We are not salaried. We are provided with an allowance. Government over the last decade or so have been encouraging increased participation from a wider variety of people within our community. They've been encouraging people to nominate to become councillors. This retrograde, in my opinion, attempt to ensure that everyone be in physical attendance at the meeting rather than being able to participate via audio-visual link, as we have been able to do for a number of years now, contradicts that attempt by government to increase the opportunity within our community. It discriminates against a significant number and proportion within our community. People who work away, people who travel, single parents. And I note that it is for, I'll just find the wording, for ill health or unforeseen caring responsibilities. So if you have ongoing caring responsibilities, then you cannot be a councillor necessarily, because you need to attend those meetings. Some councils have greater distances than we do. There are councils in New South Wales that, yes, you could walk across them in a day or less. There are a lot of councils in New South Wales where you have difficulty driving across them in a day. Most local government areas, or a significant number of local government areas, have nighttime meetings. This means that people are required often to drive long distances at night to be able to attend those meetings. And if you have those meetings during the day, so that people don't have to drive at night those long distances, then that means you're cutting out a whole lot of other people who cannot become councillors because they have other jobs, other roles, other responsibilities. You cannot survive as a councillor if you were to be living on that allowance. It is just not possible. I do not believe that our council, and I don't think there would be any other councils in New South Wales where this previous allowance of audiovisual opportunity has been abused. It has, I believe, allowed our council to ensure that we have a greater number of voices, a greater participation in any debate that we have had, because any councillor who wasn't present was also able to dial in and participate in those discussions. I think it enhances our role as a council, as a group, for us to be able to do this. And I trust that our other councillors here will support this. We really cannot sit by and allow this to happen in the 21st century in New South Wales, in local government. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gluck. And Speaker for, Councillor Hudson. No speakers against.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I'd like to propose what I hope is a friendly amendment, which is simply to, in point 5, if we could scroll down, please. Simply in addition to the sending copies to the Shadow Minister for Local Government. Oh, no, sorry, it's there already, actually. So this is my opposed amendment, which is simply to add the Green spokesperson for local government to that list.
Councillor Gluck, are you amenable to that amendment?
I am indeed, if the seconder is happy with
Yeah.
that as well. Yeah.
Councillor Bukowski? Yep, okay.
Thank
We'll
you.
just wait for that to happen.
It's there
There
already.
it is. Did you wish to speak to that at all?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mac. I thank Councillor Glacken for bringing this motion. I think it should be one that's easy for us to accept. I think the changes being proposed by the state government in this regards to this matter are out of step with community expectation and the fact that this is the 21st century now. At the recent Local Government New South Wales conference, which myself and a number of other councillors here attended, we actually heard from a councillor from Penrith who is a person who lives with a disability and is also the sole carer for a child who also has a disability. And she said that if this restriction goes through, then people like her will no longer be represented in local government. And to me, that's completely unacceptable. And this isn't even a hypothetical, because as I understand it, we've actually seen a councillor who served for nearly a decade on Wagga City Council already resigned as a consequence of these changes. So this is a terrible suggestion from the Minister for Local Government. We already know that in the state parliament, if they have committee meetings, they can actually attend. Members can attend by audiovisual link, and they often do. So it's hypocritical, but beyond that, it's an occupational health and safety issue, particularly for regional and large rural councils. As Councillor Glacken said, councillors do have to potentially travel for long distances or at night. And so to me, it just becomes an occupational health and safety issue. I think the overarching theme of this, as well as a number of other changes proposed by the Minister for Local Government, is really the imposition of a one-size-fits-all approach that ends up fitting none, because what works in the city doesn't necessarily work in rural or regional areas. And I would also note, and this is why I asked for the amendment, which is to include the Green spokesperson for local government, is to say that that Dr. Amanda Conn, who is the Green spokesperson for local government, has already moved a motion for disallowance in the State Legislative Council, which is on adjournment until next year, which would actually force the government to change course on this. So I just think it's appropriate that she be included in our correspondence. Thank you.
Thank you. No speakers against. Councillor King speaking for.
Just wanted to highlight, to back up Councillor Hudson's comments at the Local Government New South Wales conference. The comments were by councillors that had they known that this was coming in, they may not have run for their relevant council. So I think making changes of this nature mid-term, which changes everyone's perspective about how they're able to contribute, was something that has certainly doesn't appear to have been considered by the minister in framing this. And also when you have that it may contravene the New South Wales Anti-Discrimination Act, the Carers Act and Disability Inclusion Act, I'd want some level of comfort that it does not in fact breach those principles. So I have a lot of concerns there. So without going on, I'm fully supportive of the motion.
Thank you. No speakers against. Speaker for, Councillor Bullivant.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. Yes, I'll be speaking in support of Councillor Glacken's motion. To me, the new rules that the Minister is trying to implement are somewhat draconian as a rural committee. And I think as a rural community, I think that we will be the trendsetters for a lot of other local government areas that will see that Albury has taken a motion to the council group and writing to the appropriate minister, letting him know that we're not particularly happy with what he does. I think the video link system we have works. If we've got people that are travelling, we've got sometimes people are sick at home and they log in, and I'll use a point in case just recently the mayor was ill and he logged into a session that we had. So we have sessions like that so we can get people involved. And if we want to get younger people involved in council going forward, we need to have all these systems in place, because if you look at the demographic of our council now, we need to get younger people in it, and they're computer savvy, and that's what they deal in. So there's a changing in the demographic in society, and we've got to change the systems that we've got. So this is a good system to get people into council. Now, we don't want to turn people away from council. We want them to be actively involved in the community. And this is one of the reasons we don't want to have these systems taken away from us, because it gives people the opportunity to log in if they're on leave or they're sick or they're working in remote places. So I'm fully supportive of Councillor Glacken's motion, and we'll send a letter to the appropriate minister and see where it goes.
Thank you, Councillor Bullivant. There appears to be no further speakers for or against. Just to sum up and then go to Councillor Glacken to finish. We had many discussions with the Minister for Local Government over the last few months. When he was visiting Albury, particularly, we raised this issue and other issues in relation to his proposals for the amendments, and the gentleman from the Office of Local Government was with him at the time taking notes. We have spoken to him in person in Sydney again about this particular issue. He was open to considering it, but didn't give anything further. I believe at Local Government Conference, when he opened on the Sunday, which we weren't privileged to be at, he was cross-examined vigorously by the attendees at that particular opening, and it wasn't warmly received. So I have no issue with supporting this motion, because like the others, I think it's discriminatory. It's not it's a 19th century. It's not even the 20th century. It's the 21st century we currently live in. And if we want to go with the times, we need to be in the time. So I'm more than happy to support the motion. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you very much. I won't say a lot more. However, there have been councillors who have joined council with children still at nursery school. And yeah, it would have been really good to be able to zoom into some of those meetings during that period. Yes, I thank you very much, councillors who spoke in support of. I do believe that the government at the moment, the New South Wales government, is being very harsh on local government. And I know there's another motion coming up in just a moment that also deals with that fact. And at the end of the day, we are, as local government, really a servant of state government. I do understand that. I get that relationship. But the reality is we are the voice of the community, and we need to be able to participate in the discussions, in the meetings, and in that decision-making to represent our community. This change to disallow, except for those two reasons, audio-visual link, does not allow us, does not enable us to do that, and it does not encourage the wider participation to run for local government. Thank you very much, councillors.
Thank you, councillor Gluckin. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. We have 9.2 notice of motion, environmental planning and assessment amendment, planning system reforms bill 2025. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. I move that Council 1 expresses deep concern that the Environmental Planning and Assessment Amendment Planning Systems Reform Bill 2025 reduces local planning control and transparency, increases risk of corruption in planning processes, and will decrease community input and confidence in planning decisions. 2, affirms that local planning decisions, including development applications, should be made primarily by democratically elected councillors in public, on the record, and informed by professional staff advice and genuine early and ongoing community participation. 3, opposes in the strongest terms any elements of the bill that A, strip or sideline councils from key planning decisions, B, weaken, bypass or tightly constrain community consultation, C, override or undermine community endorsed strategic plans and LEPs in favour of ministerial discretion. 4, calls on the New South Wales government to withdraw or substantially rewrite the bill so that it strengthens rather than erodes local democratic control, transparency, environmental protection and integrity in the planning system. And 5, request the Mayor write to the Premier, Minister for Planning and Public Spaces, Minister for Local Government, Green Spokesperson for Local Government, Green Spokesperson for Planning, Local Government New South Wales, and Albury's local member of parliament advising them of this resolution.
Thank you. Second, councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second.
Thank you. Councillor Hudson, do you wish to open debate? I have a question if you wish me to take the question.
Happy to take the question.
Okay. Councillor Gluckin, question.
Thank you. My question through you, Mr. Mayor, is to the mover of the motion. Would they be willing to also add in 5, sorry, Ros, in 5, that it also go to the Leader of the Opposition?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you.
Councillor Hudson, Councillor Cullen, you happy with that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Hudson, another question. Councillor King.
Just quickly, I noticed the wording in point 1 talks about increases the risk of corruption in the planning process. I'd be interested in your take of the major concern there.
Yes, I was going to address that in
the
motion.
Address it in your debate.
Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you. So I'm happy to just start with that. Thank you. So planning is one of the most important and powerful things that councils do. We decide where people can live, how they move around, whether their neighbourhoods are leafy or barren, whether we protect creeks or pave over them. And those decisions involve trade-offs, and they involve values, and they require judgment. And that's precisely why they should be made by democratically elected councillors in public, on the record, informed by the staff of the professional advice of our staff. Because if people don't like the decisions that we make, they can get rid of us at every election. And changes to this act have moved us away from that principle in several ways. First, by stripping or sidelining councils from key planning decisions. And we should acknowledge this has already been done in metro councils. In 2018, planning powers were removed from metropolitan councils in New South Wales in 2018. And this bill that the government have already passed through Parliament does the same to regional councils now. So it strips councils of our planning powers in favour of ministerial discretion and central agencies. And the government itself has boasted that this is a radical reshaping of the planning system to refocus decision-making and create new centralised bodies to coordinate development and housing delivery. Now, nobody's denying that there is a housing crisis. We are absolutely in a housing crisis in this state, but this is not the way to fix it. Secondly, by weakening or constraining spaces where communities can meaningfully have their say, more development is pushed into streamlined pathways and faster approvals, with much of the detail that's filled out by regulations and practice notes. And environmental and community lawyers have already warned that the package risks increasing environmental and community impacts and raises the corruption risk by reducing oversight. So it's the reduction in oversight that increases that risk. And I think we should listen to the warnings of these lawyers. New South Wales has a long history of corruption inquiries that have taught us very clearly that opaque and fast-tracked planning decisions that sideline local voices are a recipe for trouble. Thirdly, the reforms undermine the standing of community endorsed strategic plans and local environmental plans. And we've already heard from speakers at our community forum this evening. We put all of these effort into these strategic plans and our planning documents, and now these powers are being removed from us. So why are we, the community have input, the community have expectations, and these plans are made in consultation with them. So, we ask our community to engage with visions like Albury 2050 and with things like the precinct structure plans. And under these reforms, these carefully worked through local instruments are more easily overridden by state level directions. And I think perhaps the most outrageous part of all of this is that these reforms were introduced with virtually no consultation with local government sector. There was no meaningful engagement with councils, there was no dialogue with communities, and there was no chance for residents or councillors to understand the implications or raise concerns before this legislation came through. So that's why I moved this.
Thank you, Councillor Hudson. Speaker against, Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. Mayor Mack and councillors, I have a recurring nightmare where I awake and find myself in the middle of a Greens branch meeting. And sometimes.
Yes, what's your point of order, Councillor Callaghan?
You don't need to be discriminating other councillors based on the party in which they're in.
On point of order, Mayor Mack.
Yes, Councillor Cameron.
There is no point of order. I'm free to express my political opinions. I'm an endorsed Labor councillor, as Councillor Hudson is an endorsed Greens councillor.
I would proceed, Councillor
Thank you, I shall.
Cameron. Thank you.
Where was I? Oh, yes, this nightmare. And when I see motions like this, I think I might be in that nightmare. This is a motion which is a nakedly political motion. It is mostly hyperbole, and it is simply an expression of Councillor Hudson's political alignment and a desire to use this forum to prosecute that alignment. The reason the Greens as a whole don't like the reform has nothing to do with corruption or any other matter. It is because that at the state level, they have less political influence than they do at the local level. And so they are loath to see these planning powers be dealt with at the next tier of government. To deal with some of the particular matters that have been discussed already about this, the assertion that this is a recipe for corruption, for one, there's no basis for that. There is no basis. Unnamed environmental and lawyers, as a justification for this being a recipe for corruption. The suggestion that, as Councillor Hudson said, if people don't like it at the local level, that we should have the planning powers because if people don't like it, they can remove us. Well, in exactly the same time cycle, people can remove the state government. It's also democratically elected every 4 years and is subject to the same democratic process. When I first came onto council in 1995, and it's been obliquely referenced in tonight's meeting already, the development powers were in the hands of a federal body, not a state body, but a federal body, the Albury-Wodonga Development Corporation. And whatever one's opinion of that organisation and its legacy, the council of the day did not deal substantially with planning matters. And the world didn't end. There was no great collapse. In fact, I would argue that council's operations were more efficient and council meetings were much less subject to acrimony and debate, and that council was more effectively able to carry out its core functions of roads, rubbish and rates and footpaths and other provisions that people, in my view, are entitled to expect from their council. I don't believe that this council should be used as a forum for such a nakedly party political motion. I don't believe there's...
Point of order, Councillor Hudson.
The point of order is that the councillor is impugning my motion, in my intent in bringing this motion. So that goes against the code of meeting practice.
On the point of order.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron.
Councillor Hudson is correct. I am impugning his motion. I am absolutely impugning his motion. I am entitled to impugn his motion. I am within the rules of debate, and it is entirely right and proper that I should point out that this is a nakedly party political motion.
Councillor Cameron, On that particular issue, this particular motion or similar motion was brought to conference, and I'm also part of a number of platforms where they would support this motion, and they're not nakedly green or impugning green politics. I mean, I think your assumption that this is just a Greens agenda is unfair and unrealistic. I think you need to confine yourself to the generalist nature of this motion and continue as you will.
If that's your ruling, I'll accept it, Mayor Mack.
Thank you.
So the problem with this motion is that it seems to imply that things aren't fair or things are better with local government. I would suggest the opposite. I would say that it is better with the state government, and it is more efficient to have it dealt with by the state government or at the state level. I mean, the idea that we are not more responsive to the local community is false. We're elected and we can be gotten rid of, to use Councillor Hudson's expression, every 4 years in the same cycle, as I've already pointed out. We are a creature. It's important to understand that we have no constitutional basis. Local government has no constitutional basis. Local government exists in New South Wales because of the Local Government Act. It is created and maintained by the Local Government Minister, by the Local Government Act, an act of the New South Wales Parliament alone. And we are a creature of the state government. We have the powers that the state government chooses to give us or not give us, and that is the fact, and that is the legal basis of our existence. And councillors or councils that dispute that do so at their peril, I would suggest. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Question, Councillor Bukowski.
Thank you. Through you to the most relevant member of staff. Just in relation to this motion and just for clarification, can it be confirmed that this motion only speaks to very specific development applications where there might be, for example, a conflict of interest where council might receive 10 or more submissions, they are contentious or sensitive in nature, or they involve development standard contravention? So this motion is not talking to development applications that don't meet this threshold.
Mr. Christie.
Thank you for the question, and for you, Mayor Mack. While the level of detail has not been provided by the state government, that's based upon how local planning panels currently operate in Sydney, in the assumption that they would have the same operational parameters if they're rolled out into regional areas.
Follow up? No? Comfortable? Question, Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor Mack, to the most relevant staff member. If these panels were to go ahead as part of the reform bill, who would bear the cost of these panels? I believe it has been discussed, but perhaps you could elaborate a little bit further.
Mr. Christie.
Yep. Thank you for the question again, and for you, Mayor Mack. And again, have to preface it with minimal detail from the state government about the operational, but just on the basis of how they're operating current the Sydney councils, the operational costs are borne by the council because they're a local planning panel. It therefore becomes a creature of the council. They replace local regional planning panels as well as other matters that were outlined. Currently, those regional planning panels are paid for by the state government, but local planning panels would be paid for by the council that they represent.
Councillor Callaghan.
Just a follow-up question, if I may. Is there a council representative on the panel, to your knowledge?
Mr. Christie.
Thank you for the question again, and for you, Mayor Mack. So the panel representatives, again, based upon the Sydney example, have 4 members, a chairperson, 2 panel members that are appointed from a pool of around over 200 plus experts, and the 4th person is a community representative that is appointed by the council. There are disqualifications to those community representatives, though, as outlined in the CEO note, that they can't be a mayor, a councillor, a developer or real estate agent. I think of the 4 off the top of my head. I just don't have it right in front of me. But other than that, they can be any other community member, but they do need to be appointed at a council meeting by the council, by resolution of council.
Follow up?
So just to surmise, it's a panel that would pay for from the ratepayers' money, but local people can't have input into, or councils can't have input into the outcome of development applications in their own municipality.
Mr. Christie.
Again, thank you for the question, and for you, Mayor Mack. So there was one council appointed representative. In that respect, council also appoints those 2 professional representatives, but they're from a pool that is endorsed by the Minister So that's a limited pool, not general community.
Thank you, Mr. Christie.
Thank you, Mr. Christie. Any further pause or against? I have a speaker for, councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Yes, I speak for this motion. I'm not that enamored of all of the wording of it, but I do support the notion and what I believe is in Councillor Hudson's motion, and that is a concern that there are people in government who don't even know that we exist, let alone where we are in Albury. And in essence, I think the decisions for planning need to be made by the elected members, and hopefully by us being able to attend by audio-visual link as well, because we represent our community. Government, as I referred to earlier, we are really a servant. Council is a servant of state government. Apparently we don't exist, according to Councillor Cameron. But in essence, state government controls the upper level of planning for our state, and we need to fit our planning within those controls and framework. And I believe we should be making those finer detail decisions here at council. I'm a little concerned with the suggestion that it'll increase the risk of corruption in planning processes, as was questioned by Councillor King. I'm not convinced that there will be necessarily an increase, because if people at state level are able to be corrupted, then I contest that perhaps people at local government level might also. So I'm not certain there would necessarily be an increase. So I, at the moment, am thinking that I will support this motion because in its essence, I support that we at local government level should be making these decisions. And I'm mindful that the Premier in October was doing an interview about the planning bill. And as part of that, he was quoted as saying, councils can be a bit of a pain, but we've been rolling over the top of them in the last 2 years, and now we're about to formalise it with the bill. And I think that's quite sad that the state government think that they would like to control local government, and this is how they're going to do it. So I don't think I cannot support this motion, because I do believe that whilst we are a creature of the state government, I do believe that we should be, as elected members, making those finer detail determinations at our local level for our local community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Speakers for, no speakers against. Councillor King.
I'd like to foreshadow that if this motion doesn't get up, to propose an alternate motion that is essentially in line with what was endorsed at the Local Government New South Wales conference, which has got elements of what councils overwhelmingly support, that I think we can, listening to debate, that might soften some of the concerns. So just giving fair notice of that.
Thank you, Councillor King. Speaker for, Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. I'm not a paid up member of the Labor Party, Greens, Liberal Party, or any other party, but I don't mind the thrust of this and happy to support it. Thanks.
Thank you. Other speakers for or against? Questions? Just to finish up before I hand back to Councillor Hudson, having had some visibility of this particular issue at a different level in regional cities, New South Wales, we actually had a session with Kirsten Fishburn, who's the Secretary of Planning and Environment in New South Wales, the week that this particular amendment was passed by Parliament. When we asked her about this particular issue, her and her offsider had no visibility of it, believed that councillors would still have the right of approving at least 4% of all DAs that come to council, because let's remember, only 4% do. The others are dealt by delegation or by the regional planning panel. Had no visibility of local planning panels, and basically shrugged her shoulders when she was asked. And after, I know that the CEO did email Mr. Christie at the time and got a response that he had no visibility of it, and others did the same. And when they were questioned to that degree, they said, "We can't comment, but we'll find out." Now, my concern is that they've passed an amendment to an act of Parliament without even consulting the Secretary of the Environment and Planning area. I mean, that is absurd. And let alone engage councils who do this every day, who actually do it under delegation every day, on the basis of, let's see how it fits. We'll just put it in front, a reform bill, we'll put it in front of the House and see what happens. And that's what happened. And basically after that we had a break, had lunch. They went upstairs to the Minister Scully's office, and they scurried back downstairs and said, "Oh, look, we understand, blah, blah, blah." I'm thinking, hang on. You had no visibility, now you have visibility. So fortunately, the next presenter was His Highness Paul Scully.
Point of order.
Yes, point of order.
That-
Minister Paul Scully, I withdraw that
Thank you very
comment.
much, Mayor Mac. That is the most offensive thing.
Anyway,
Call a Labor minister by an English title. That is disgusting.
absolutely, I wouldn't provide him with that level of respect. Thank you. Anyway, Paul Scully arrived and he was asked the question about this particular issue, and he was quite bullish about it. In fact, he was quite rude about it. And effectively, you can tell when people are being rude and bullish about it because he was aware of the previous presenters not having visibility of it. And to be honest, there's nothing wrong with this particular motion that's before us today. I think, again, corruption, I'm not sure. I think in New South Wales, in the realm of metropolitan councils, they introduced this to try and resolve those issues. We're in we're in a regional area, and I don't see that as prevalent or even mentioned. And ICAC hasn't, or to my knowledge, investigated anything of that nature in regional New South Wales. I think Minister Scully's concern was the issue that corruption was rife and we needed to address those issues. That was one of the things he mentioned. And the other thing was fast tracking these issues. And when he was asked about local planning panels, oh, well, they'll be funded by the councils. Well, again, we've got several inquiries at federal and state level about the viability and financial viability of local government. Let's just take it away and give someone else more money to do the job we're currently doing. So I would be supporting this motion because I feel that it is relevant and it is something we need to fight for, because the community expects someone to be there they can talk to. And another thing, in metropolitan Sydney, they have a call line, a hotline, and no one answers it. So to me, that's an autocratic way of doing planning business and not what I think we deal with in regional New South Wales. Councillor Hudson, do you wish to close debate?
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I will briefly. I thank all councillors for their contribution to the debate. I think that, we are the closest level of government to the community. I think the idea that a councillor would argue that state bureaucrats are equivalently accountable as we are, people can harangue in the supermarket because their minister is elected on a 4-year cycle, is frankly laughable. I won't comment on whether local government is any more or less responsive to its community than the state government. I'll leave the community up to make their own mind up about that one. But I think that there's some really important things that have been highlighted during the debate. Councillor Callaghan's questions and the response we've had from staff. I mean, it goes to show that the state government is trying to strip us of local planning powers, and they're charging us for the pleasure. As Mayor Mac has indicated, nobody had any visibility of this before the changes were made. And regardless of whether you're supportive of those changes or not, we should accept that that's not acceptable. We're a democratic country and we have consultative democracy, and we should be applying those principles, whether or not you agree with the outcome. So to that end, I think that I commend the motion to my fellow councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Hudson. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Those against?
Could I have my vote recorded, please, Mayor?
Thank you, councillor Cameron. Your vote is recorded. Okay, the motion is carried. Okay, CM11, we have CM10, we have no presentation of deputations. CM11, reports, minutes of committees and working parties. 11.1, minutes of Audit Risk and Improvement Committee final financial statements meeting held on Wednesday, the 22nd of October 2025. Councillor Bukowski.
It's not working. Okay. I move the recommendation that council receives, notes and accepts the minutes of the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on Wednesday, 22nd of October 2025.
Thank you. Councillor King.
I second the motion.
Thank you. I just need to note that Councillor Cameron has left for a bathroom break. Councillor Bukowski, did you wish to open debate on that item?
No, thank you, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. There appears to be no further question or debate. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Okay, we're up to CM 11.2, minutes of the Audit and Risk Improvement Committee meeting held on Wednesday, the 12th of November 2025. Councillor Bukowski.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I move the recommendation that council receives, notes and accepts the minutes of the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on Wednesday, 12 November 2025.
Thank you. Councillor King.
Wish to second the motion?
Thank you. Councillor Bukowski, do you wish to speak to that?
No, thank you.
There are no speakers for or against. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. 11.3, minutes of the Local Transport Forum held on Thursday, the 13th of November 2025. Councillor Bukowski.
Thank you. I move the recommendation that council receives, notes and accepts the minutes of the Local Transport Forum held on Thursday, 13 November 2025.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor King.
Happy to second the motion.
Thank you. I have a question, Councillor Bukowski, for open debate. Did you wish to allow that question? Councillor Hudson, question?
Thank you, Mayor Mac. Through you to the most relevant member of staff. Just in relation to the CBD bike loop. So the update in the minutes says that the detailed design is 80% complete and we're waiting for information to be provided by Transport for New South Wales so that a variation can be submitted. The August minutes say that detailed design was 80% complete. The June PMBS that we had said that detailed design must be completed by the 30th of June and construction must commence by the July of this year, and that construction of stage 1 must be completed by June of next year, and that grant funding was contingent on that. And the May Transport committee meeting said that detailed design was 50% complete. So we've gone from 50% complete in May to 80% complete in August to 80% complete in November. Just hoping we could have an update on where things are at with the CBD bike loop and when we might expect a more detailed update about it. Thank you.
Mr. Lawson, thanks.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Through you, Mayor Mac. Yeah, look, the project is still in the design phase. We are awaiting some information back from Transport for New South Wales around some variations, one of those being timing of the project and extension of timing for delivery. The other is around some variations to do with the design contract, which has held up the design process, which is still sitting at around 80%. And there has been little work undertaken at this stage while we wait for that variation approval.
Follow-up?
Yeah, follow-up question. Thank you. When are councillors likely to receive an update on the progression?
Mr. Lawson?
Again, thanks for the question. Through you, Mayor Mac. We're talking with Transport for New South Wales on a continuous and constant basis around trying to move those variations forward. So once we have some further updates, we can provide that to council.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cullen, do you have a question or just open debate? Because Councillor Bukowski hasn't. Question, okay.
Given that the funding needed to be spent, I believe, by June next year, and this is our final council meeting, will that actually be possible to endorse the project come February and complete the project by the D deadline?
Mr. Lawson?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And through you, Mayor Mac, again. that is, I guess, the outcome of the variation requests with transport will dictate the funding requirements within the budget. We're hoping to find that out as soon as possible so that we can obviously include that, if possible, in the budget process for next 4 years.
Follow up?
Now I might ask my own question. Thank you. Just a question in regarding to the traffic calming options for Shoeback Street, East Albury. I see that it is at 50% completion. I look forward to seeing it at 100% completion in the new year. Can I have a bit of clarity around when we're likely to have that come back to go out for endorsement and for public exhibition in the new year?
Mr. Lawson?
Again, thank you for the question. The document is currently at around, I think it's about 80% draft. Got a lot of 80% happening.
Yeah.
80% draft, and we're looking to receive that in the very near future, pre-Christmas.
Oh, lovely. Thank you, Mr. Lawson.
Thank you. Councillor Bukowski, do you wish to speak to this?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Documents for sealing. Thank you, councillors. 12.1. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Through you to move the recommendation as a motion, which is 12.1, documents for sealing. Council authorises its seal to be affixed to the documents outlined below in the presence of two signatories authorised to affix the seal pursuant of Regulation 400 of Local Government General Regulation 2021 and the Council seal and management of legal documents and advice procedures. A, Albury City lease to Albury Wodonga Sport Fishing Club Incorporated, 5-year lease plus 5-year option for building at 4 Lockheed Drive, Albury, renewal of long-term agreement, file number 09/01740. B, Albury City lease to Albury Lapidary and Allied Crafts inclusive for 5 years commencing 1 February 2025, file number 9/01758. And C, Albury City lease to Mitta Canoe Club, Albury Wodonga Incorporated, 5-year lease commencing 1 January 2026 with 5-year option, 347 Wodonga Place, Albury, file number 9/01773. Thank you.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Cameron.
I'd like to second that, please, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken, do you wish to speak to that at all?
Thank you. No.
No further speakers for or against. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Okay, CM 13, officers' reports for consideration. CM 13.1, the Thurgoona Willinga Precinct Structure Plan Public Exhibition Submissions. Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I'd like to move an alternative motion.
Yes.
Should be coming.
There you go.
Thank you. I'd like to move that Council A receives and notes the content of the report. B, acknowledges receipt of the submissions lodged. C, adopts the Thurgoona Willinga Precinct Structure Plan 2025 with changes as outlined in the report and attachment 5. And D, ensures that the amendment to the Albury DCP 2010 to incorporate the Thurgoona Willinga Precinct Structure Plan 2025 includes a clear requirement that all identified blue-green network corridors, which incorporate a linear park with an adjacent waterway environment and land, have a minimum width of 100 metres. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor King.
Happy to second that motion.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan, I have a question before you open. Did you happy to take the question?
Happy to take the question.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken, your Callaghan.
Thank you. Through you to the most relevant member of staff, with reference to the amended motion from our report, the addition of item D, with reference to the minimum width of 100 metres. I have a couple of questions. Happy to ask them all at the same time, if that's all right with you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
The blue-green corridor widths, how does that work, 100 metres as a minimum? What is the current minimum proposed in the actual report itself? What's the average and what is the range? And the second part of that is, why would we add an instruction for the DCP to be a part of this structure plan and not deal with it as part of the DCP?
Thank you. Mr. Christie. Two questions.
Yep. Thank you for the question and for you, Mayor Mac. So in relation to the first question. The blue-green corridors, network corridors in the structure plan follow where there's drainage lines and other environmental areas that are identified in the structure plan, identified putting some linear parks on the outside of those. The vast majority of those existing C3 zones that follow those waterways are 80 metres, so 40 metres in width either side from the streamline. And so the structure plan then we're proposing linear parks, which generally had a 20 metre either side of that. So it was around that 100 to 120 metres in width. Obviously, there are some circumstances where it may vary slightly due to topographical constraints or the like, where that 80 metres and that 40 metres for the green bit may slightly vary, but that's on average. There are some other linear parks that are identified which don't follow those blue-green corridors, and they're generally around 20 to 40 metres in width and aren't identified, caught up in this amended motion. In regards to why I deal with it in the DCP rather than in the structure plan, the structure plan is very broad, it's very map-based. The DCP is going to provide that finer grain of detail, and so therefore it's might be considered more appropriate to get to that more finer grain of detail in the development control plan, which is proposed to be undertaken during 2026.
Follow-up.
Follow-up, yep.
My second question is really, why are we dealing with that tonight for the DCP when we're really looking at the Willinga precinct structure plan? And ultimately, we will be looking at the DCP in the future. Should we not just park that to the DCP and make that determination at that time, when it is absolutely relevant and all the information is on the table, rather than shoehorning something in now?
Mr. Christie.
Yep. Thank you for the question, and for you, Mayor Mack. And my understanding is, as I said, we are currently working on that development control plan in the planning proposal, as I indicated last week, the community forum. So the idea is to make certain that this is an element, therefore, that when the development control plan comes to council for consideration, it won't need to be added or deferred and wouldn't delay any exhibition should council be ready to exhibit the remainder of the DCP.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Question, Councillor King.
We heard from a submitter at the public forum, Jonathan Howard, and he talked about that a minimum 30 metres is important along those multi-purpose corridors, that they needed to be larger. Is that captured in this or not? Is that a separate issue?
Mr. Christie.
I thank you for the question, and for you, Mayor Mack. That's where I said at that meeting in response, I think it might have been Councillor Bullivant, but my apologies, but also my response earlier. And it's just that misunderstanding that these form part of a broad network. There's not going to be a fence down the middle. There's not going to be anything that delineates these as such. So when you look at that, as I said before, with an average of 40 metres either side generally, and that 20 metres, that would be well in excess of that 30 metres.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan, no further questions. You have to open debate on your motion, thanks.
I am, thank you. Firstly, the Thurgoona-Willinga structure plan, I want to thank the staff for putting so much time and effort into where we're at this evening. I'd also like to thank the community too for sharing their hopes and visions and growth for our corridor, which is going to see upwards of 50,000 people living in the Thurgoona-Willinga precinct. It's been a mountain of work, so a big thank you. The plan gives a long-term structure to growth. So we're really looking at the roadmap of Thurgoona and how this is going to look over the next 20 to 30 years, where housing goes, where the jobs are going to happen, how the roads are looking, where our schools are, parks and services, and it's all in a sequenced fashion. Without it, we get a piecemeal subdivision and missed opportunities if we didn't have it at all. It provides certainty for community and also for developers. It gives that clear structure about land use and infrastructure, and it also gives landowners and the development sector certainty about expectations and staging and standards that we, Albury City Council, expect, and also our community. It locks in a city in nature vision, and the amendment here talks to that as well. It's a plan, they plan and embed blue-green networks and connect open spaces and vegetated corridors. This is central to the livability and health and wellbeing of a regional community. And when we heard the public forum speaking last week, it's certainly what I heard was that's why people are living out in Thurgoona in the first place. They want to be connected to their community. They wanted to be connected to nature. It builds in resilience to climate, flood and bushfire by recognising waterways, floodplains, and it really specifically highlights the bushfire-prone areas and habitat corridors up front. And it's got coding in there about vegetated stages 1 with 100 metres and corridors 2 and 3 as well. So it really clearly defines bushfire safety as well. The plan reflects and responds to community input. I've been to multiple rounds of consultation, and I think we've refined this plan as best as possible with that community input. So I suppose it brings me to D, why the amendment of the 100-metre minimum green-blue corridor width and why it's critical. You know, where some might go, oh, this is just about loving trees. It certainly is not that at all. It's wanting to deliver a livable city that demonstrates care and growth for that corridor and that choose to live there. This should be a considered and sensible step in doing that. The DCP, as long as I've been a councillor, keeps getting bumped. I look forward to starting it in 2026, but it's something I think in my first year as a councillor, you know, I really realised quite quickly that it was critical to address a document that is simply outdated. I think the beginning of it started in 2006, we're at 2010 was when it was adopted. You know, that's 2 decades ago. The world has exponentially changed, and by putting it in here, it means that we can recognise the change that we really need in Thurgoona and adopt that. Okay. The multi-purpose corridors need multi-purpose space. We heard that when Elizabeth, I'm sorry, I've forgotten her surname, spoke just the other day. These corridors are asked to do several things at once: to carry water, to protect habitat, to provide active transport and offer recreation. And we heard about, you know, the cubby houses that were being built, which was really lovely. It also acts as a buffer to nearby homes, and you simply can't do that and squeeze that all into 20 to 30 metres. We heard from Jonathan as well that there are minimum expectations. We've also heard this evening that we're exceeding those expectations in many cases, but when you're looking at a map, it doesn't provide that wording within the document or the Thurgoona-Willinga structure plan that we're actually doing that. And so to set out at a minimum of 100 metres when we're already exceeding that in many cases, I think is the right thing to do, and it clearly articulates to our community what our expectations are. It separates people, water and wildlife. There's room for waterways, for wetlands, for quieter habitats, for walking, cycling, space for maintenance, access and service of easements as well. It protects real habitat, not just a green line on the map. It makes bushfire planning more robust. It improves flood management and reduces future costs. It supports urban cooling and public health. It aligns with best practice corridor governance. And if you read the information that was emailed out to us from Jonathan last week, there was certainly some fantastic information that's kind of led me to this discussion with Mr. Christie and our CEO and Mayor about how we can capture this in the Thurgoona-Willinga structure plan. This is the cheapest time we'll ever have to get it right as well. The structure planning stage is our one real chance to set corridor widths before roads and lots are fixed. Once houses are built, we will not be widening these spaces. So setting that 100 metre minimum now is prudent long-term financial management. It also targets key corridors. This isn't just saying we're just going to, you know, make everything 100 metres and make all these corridors. If you were looking at the Thurgoona-Willinga structure plan, it has really clearly defined spaces where this would be appropriate. So happy to go and listen to other councillors, but I'm hoping that you can endorse section D in the motion this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor King speaking for. Hang on, we've got a speaker against. Councillor Cameron. I'll take Councillor King next. Councillor King. Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor Mac.
I didn't call you King, Cameron.
Yes, Mayor Mac.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. I'm opposed to the amendment, and I foreshadow that should the amendment fail, I'll move the original recommendation as a motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor King speaking for.
I wanted to thank the community. This has, been an extensive consultation program over the past 2 years. So the fact that the community have been so engaged, I think all councillors at various stages have been at some of the information sessions. In particular, noting, and I think Jonathan Howard mentioned that 10% of the 43 submissions in this later round expressed comments around the environmental corridors. And I think even, you know, the Thagoona Golf Club Resort, their membership skyrocketed after COVID because people really saw the value in that community of being out in nature. And even if it was walking a golf course, even if you wear a hack at the course and in the golf game, it was enabling you to get out in nature in those green spaces. You'll often see people walking their dogs early of a morning or of an evening. So clearly the community really embraces the environmental element. So I think to really send that strong signal in terms of the Albury DCP about that green-blue network and that minimum width of 100 metres will go an additional way in cementing what the community have definitely told us that they really value. So happy to support this motion.
Thank you. Speaker for 4, no speakers against. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I want to thank the staff for putting in an enormous amount of work. I think this iteration of the precinct structure plan is a much better document. It's a much improved document compared to the original 2023 precinct structure plan. It has genuine action items that have come from it. I think we have learnt from mistakes of the past, and I really commend them for the work that they've done. I want to thank the community for participating in the consultation and in building this document, because it wouldn't have been possible without input from the community. It's a long document, but it's an easily digestible document. It is map based, as we've heard. It does set out in clear ways how we intend for Thagoona Willinga to develop over the coming decades, and shows that we have thought clearly about the way that happens. It was very interesting to hear from landowners and property developers at our community forum last week. It was interesting to know that some are very clearly forward thinking and they're excited to host infrastructure like shopping centres and that sort of thing in their land, because they see the benefit that has for the amenity of the future residents. It was a bit disappointing to see that some people they seem to just want to maximize their profits and only build houses, and don't realize that we do live in a society and we do actually need things like sporting facilities for our community. But ultimately, and I think this was a point that was made by one of the speakers, or at least was made in a submission, is that the responsibility that we have as council is to plan for the orderly and sustainable development of our city. It is not to de-risk the investment of people who've land banked for decades and gained considerable capital gain and uplift from rezoning. So I think that this document does that. I thank Councillor Callaghan for her very sensible amendment. I think now is the right time to do this, because it does set the clear expectation for our staff and for developers that we do want to preserve those green-blue corridors. You know, there are so many edge effects that come from having human habitation and human activity up against the edge of environmental areas, whether that's kids making illegal mountain biking tracks or garden escapees, weeds, that kind of thing. Ultimately, we need to have buffers to protect the environment. And as Councillor Callaghan has said, this is why people choose to live in Thagoona, because it is a city in the bush. So again, thank you to the staff, thank you to the community, and I look forward to seeing the outcomes from this plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hudson. Speaker against. Councillor Glegg.
Thank you. I speak against one component only. I support us progressing the Thagoona Willinga precinct structure plan. And I know that we need to deal with what we call the green-blue network corridors, but I think we should be dealing with that in the DCP discussion in the future. I was interested in the answer to the question from the staff about what is the average, what is the maximum width at the moment, you know, how would that be dealt with? And one of the answer raised the issue of except where there are certain restrictions because of the physical land. So I don't think we're ready to make this decision tonight, and I don't think we should make this decision tonight, D. I think we should be referring this, D, to the discussion, and of course the staff will bring it up as part of that component for the DCP review, which we're going to be undertaking in the very near future. We will be doing that. We should have that discussion at that time, including the areas elsewhere in Albury. So that will wrap up the Willinga Precinct Structure Plan components, or the areas within the Goonoo-Willinga area as well. So whilst I support it as a theoretical concept for future discussion, I do not believe we should be dealing with that tonight, and I do not think we should be adding it to what was already a good motion and recommendation from the staff. This, I think, needs to be discussed further, and we need to look at it for the whole of Albury. We also need to confirm as councillors that we support it for the structure, the area that is covered by the structure plan, rather than just imposing it tonight. And there may be some consideration, some unintentional consequences that we haven't yet thought about. And I want us to take that time to get that right. So I cannot support this, D, at this time in this motion. Very happy to look at it in the very near future, but not tonight. So I would support the aforementioned motion, alternative motion, should this not get up tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glackens. Question, Councillor Baker?
Thank you, Mayor Mac. Question through you to the most relevant member of staff. The structure plan's a broad strategic framework. So how prescriptive is that 100 metres? The DCP versus the structure plan, what would take precedence?
Mr. Christie.
Thank you for the question, and for you, Mayor Mac. So yes, it's correct. The structure plan's a broad document and doesn't go to that individual measurement, which is why the recommendation earlier was if we wanted that as a precise goal, then it was more appropriate to have that finer grain of detail in the DCP. In regards to the DCP versus the structure plan in a planning context, the structure plan is a council policy. What enacts it currently is Part 19 of our DCP, brings in the 2013 structure plan, and then an amended Part 19 of our DCP, which will come to council next year, will bring in the 2025 structure plan. So they work in concert together, but technically the DCP is the enabler for the structure plan to come into the planning process, if that answers your question.
All right.
Yeah, I'm still a little bit confused. So is that a rigid 100 metres in every instance of this, or can it vary?
Mr. Christie.
Thank you for the question, and for you, Mayor Mac. So any control in the DCP can have a variation sought to it before council. You've dealt with those previously at council. So if there was an instance where 99, 98, 92, whatever variation number might be, council consider it on its merits as a variation to that 100 metre control in the DCP.
Thank you. Just to clarify, Mr. Christie, on that question, at the moment, there is no measure in relation to the blue-green zone or any zone of this nature in the DCP. Is that correct?
Thank you for the question. For you yourself, Mayor Mac, yes, there's no formal blue-green or green-blue, I think I called them up there, corridors within the current DCP. Obviously, there's talk around, especially in the residential subdivision chapter, about where you interface environmental lands, and there's talk around using perimeter roads and other forms of measures to deal with that interface. So the green-blue corridors have been introduced through the structure plan to then obviously go into any future council consideration.
Thank you. There appears to be no further speakers for or against. Just before you close, Councillor Callaghan, the 2013 plan, the structure plan, and what happened after that. We know what happened after that. There was a lot of indicative changes This is an indicative plan. It's not the DCP. It's what the community would like to see happen in the Thurgoona precinct. In relation to the DCP changes, I think the future is going to be too late if we don't act now, because again, we have a corridor that we're promoting as a lifestyle corridor, an environmental corridor, and there's a whole range of things we promote. But I think some developers take advantage of that, and without minimum standards, we're open to average. And I see average out there currently. Some parts of Thurgoona are looking a bit like Western Sydney. And unfortunately, that's to say, not to put it lightly, but to say that the DCP currently is not addressing the issues of minimum and maximums of this blue-green corridor, or any corridor for that matter, and they're taking advantage. And in some cases, they use swamp areas as areas of play space and open green space, which I find really, really quite contradictory and discriminatory for young people who would not want to play in a swamp. So, you know, I see this point that Councillor Callaghan is making is really important, because we don't look at the DCP in the next two years, for instance. In the last 12 months, we've had over 500 DAs for that corridor alone. Previous, it was 440. So there's nearly 1,000 DAs that have gone through, which quickly occupy the spaces that are called Thurgoona Willinga. So unless we start now, again, the future will be too late. So I'll be supporting this change because I think it's important. And there is previous precedent set that we do amend the DCP at different times to address issues of concern to our community and certainly to the chamber. So thank you. Councillor Callaghan, do you wish to close debate?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mayor Mack. Thank you to the other councillors who've spoken in support, and thank you for going into depth about the amendment this evening, Mr. Christie. Councillors, the Thurgoona Willinga Precinct Structure Plan gives us a framework that we need for orderly, livable growth in the fastest changing parts of our city. The amendment before us tonight does not weaken that plan, it strengthens the heart of the plan. By requiring a 100-metre minimum width for our key blue-green corridors, we're being honest about what we're asking these spaces to do: move water, move people, and sustain wildlife, while keeping future residents safe from flood and from fire. A narrow strip can't do all of that. This is our moment to lock in generous functional corridors before development is committed. In 20 years' time, our community will either thank us for having the foresight to protect these spaces, or they'll be asking, why were we so short-sighted? Doing this in the future is too late. Let's not make this theoretical. Let's make this the community's reality. I want us to be on the right side of that question, and I commend the motion to the chamber this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to put the motion by division. All those in favour? Baker, Mack, Callaghan, Hudson and King. Those against? Bullivant, Barkowski, Cameron and Glacken. The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. 13.2, Development Application 10.2025.416660.1, dual occupancy and 2-lot Torrens Title Subdivision 2 Winterfold Road, 88 Springview Drive, Willinga. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Cameron.
I'd like to move that Council A receive the contents of this report and B grants consent to development application 2025.416660.1 for a dual occupancy detached and for 2-lot Torrens Title Subdivision of Lot 575 in DP 13133838, situated at 2 Winterfold Road /88 Springfield Drive, Willinga, subject to the conditions contained in the draft determination included attachment A to this report.
Just to clarify, it's Springview.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Councillor Barkowski.
But to second the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron, do you wish to open debate on that item?
Yeah, look, every development that we have, it seems, in Thurgoona is contentious, and there is regularly objection to no matter what the proposition is in Thurgoona. The reality is that we need more housing desperately in Albury. There is a housing crisis in Albury, as has been mentioned tonight. I'm aware that the health service alone, the Albury Health Service alone, Albury Wodonga or the Border Health Service, I forget the correct nomenclature, but it rents hundreds of properties in Albury just to provide accommodation to nursing and medical specialists and indeed allied health professionals who visit the town and are required to visit the town because of their difficulties they have in staffing with permanent employees. I'm a renter myself, and I know how difficult and competitive the renting market is in Albury. There is a desperate need for affordable new housing, and the only practical place for that to go is Willingo Thurgoona. I'm cognizant of the objections that have been raised tonight and of people who have nice lifestyle blocks, not wanting smaller blocks around them and not wanting renters around them. I understand that, but the greater priority and the greater good for the most people is, I believe, provided by approving these developments. Thank you.
Thank you. Question, Councillor Callaghan?
Yes, Mayor Mac, through you to the most relevant staff member. It was just in regards to the cost of the development. We're looking at a 4-bedroom house and a 3-bedroom house, so 2 homes, to be built at $540,000. I find that strangely perplexing, and perhaps maybe I'm a bit out of touch, but I expected that the market was much higher than that.
Mr. Christie?
Thank you for the question and for you, Mayor Mac. And we do compare the cost of developments as they're submitted against the Rawlinson's Guide. And the Rawlinson's Guide would consider that on average this is more at around 630,000 than 490,000.
Follow-up?
A follow-up question. I suppose if people are submitting their building under costed, how does that affect perhaps rates in which we would be collecting for Albury City?
Mr. Christie?
Thank you for the question. And for you, Mayor Mac, so the developer contributions are based upon the actual form of the developments, in this case, the size of the bedrooms, etc. But the application fee for the application is based upon the cost of development. So it's the original fee that is affected by that cost of development. Overall, there would be a difference of around $400 on the application fee with that variation in value of works.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for the clarification around the wording being application fee. So there'd be a difference of $400 based on what has been submitted today at 540,000 versus what Rawlinson's is saying it should be around 630,000.
That's correct.
So if we were to accept this development application, we could be foregoing $400, but I know it seems, an isolated incident, but if this is happening in multiple developments, we could be potentially foregoing thousands of dollars for our community because people are under submitting what the actual cost to build a home is, or in this case, homes, 2-family homes.
Mr. Christie?
Thank you for the question and for you, Mayor Mac. So yes, there is that potential. When applications are lodged through council, we do check those against estimated costs because obviously they can vary depend upon who builds, and obviously a number of applications all that don't come in with the actual builder on time, hence why we use the Rawlinson's Guide as a guide for the development. This one appeared to have slipped through the cracks of not picking up that discrepancy.
Okay. Question, Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. Through you to the most relevant member of staff. With regards to the character of the neighbourhood and the density, please correct me if I'm wrong, but in the precinct structure plan, which we have just passed, we're anticipating that in fairly close proximity there'll be a major neighbourhood centre. Is that correct in that area?
Mr. Christie?
MNC number 3, I believe.
Yeah, thank you for the question. For you, Mayor Mac, yes, the other side of Sandy Creek's, I think the right designation, but my apologies, I've got it wrong, but to the east of this development is the major neighbourhood centre 3, which would also have surround it major neighbourhood centre residential land and also the district sports ground and other facilities.
Yeah.
And a follow-up question to that, what's the density, what's the minimum lot sized for the zoning in the MNC residential?
Mr. Christie?
Yeah, thank you for the question for you, Mayor Mac. The minimum lot size hasn't been 100% fully determined yet because part of it will depend upon, as we discussed at the community forum, whether they're MU1 mixed use or whether it's R3 medium density residential. So that's still to be prosecuted through the planning proposal, which will come to council in 2026. The average lot size or minimum lot size at the moment for our R1 general residential zone is 450 square metres. So you'll expect to be below that, but the precise figure hasn't been prescribed yet that will come through the planning proposal process.
Sure. So final question then. Is it then fair to say that the lots, acknowledging not that very specific development, which is not yet complete, but in close proximity there will be considerably higher, the potential for considerably higher density development then?
Thank you for the question, for you, Mac. Yes, there is the potential. And just for a clarification point, I think something was brought up earlier where there was a insinuation there was a variation to the minimum lot size. Clause 4.1 of Albury LEP clearly allows lots to be down to 300 square metres where we approve a dual lock at the same time, or a single dwelling to make a dual lock. So this at about 380 square metres and 410 or thereabouts, give or take a few square metres, is in excess of that minimum there. So it does comply with the LEP in terms of minimum lot size.
Sorry, I have thought of just one more with your indulgence, Mac. This is with regard to private open space on the lots. Does the application, so understanding that when we're approving a dual occupancy at the same time, we can go to a smaller lot size, is the private open space on each block, are they seeking a variation to that, or is that within the allowable limit?
Thank you for the question and for you, Mac. So it fully complies with DCP in regards to setbacks, minimum lot size, etc. The minimum lot size is obviously against a dual occupancy, not against a single dwelling, but it fully complies with the DCP.
Thank you.
Thank you. Question, Councillor King.
Through you, Mayor Mac, to the most relevant member of staff. We heard from a speaker suggesting that smaller frontage, less trees, diminished canopy cover. Do we have a perspective on those comments in relation to this subdivision?
Mr. Christie.
Yep. Thank you for the question. And for you, Mayor Mac, I believe they also talked about less street tree opportunities for my recollection. There's no street trees proposed to be removed as part of this development. So there's no removal of any existing street trees. The development assessment proposal talks at around our minimum landscaped areas are at 30%. Without, again, having the figures precise in front of me, I can get them from the report, but this sat at around the minimum landscaped area of around that 45 to 50%. So there is opportunity for vegetation to be planted on the site. Obviously, that may or may not be done, but there is the opportunity for vegetation to be planted on the site. But in regards to street trees, there's no removal of street trees for this development.
Thank you.
Councillor Callaghan, question.
Thank you, Mayor Mac, to the most relevant staff member. And please indulge me, I'm not sure I've come across this before and I'm not quite sure about the most appropriate steps, but is it possible to defer the development application based on the application fee being quite skewed?
Mr. Christie.
Thank you for the question and for you, Mayor Mac. And that's why I indicated before about this one slipping through the cracks. So when an application is lodged to council through the planning portal, we are to check that we have the required information, but also we issue an invoice for payment based upon the cost of work. So at the point of time, council at this stage from that planning portal has accepted that his cost of works for this was $490,000. So the cost of the development's not a determinative figure for council in that respect. Obviously, we could have the opportunity to go back to the applicant and advise them of the revised cost and seek some additional fees, but we could not determine the application because of that. It has been accepted by council as suitable for lodgement.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. Speaker 4, Councillor Gwacken.
Thank you. Yes, I speak for this motion, and the reason I'm speaking for this application to be permitted is that by and large, it meets the requirements of our DCP, the planning requirements, it satisfies those. We did have a speaker tonight speak against this, and I understand their thoughts on it, and they're not happy And I understand that. However, we cannot allow or not this development based on the fact that the two dwellings may be rented dwellings. That is not a factor that we can make a determination on. And whether there is one or two dwellings on this land and it is rented is irrelevant. It could be one and rented, or it could be two and both rented or both owned. So it's irrelevant. But I understand the point the person was raising, or the speaker was raising. And I'm also conscious of the fact that people buy land and or a house, or they build a house on the basis that that is where they want to live and that is the situation they want to live in. However, and they have rights because they own that land. But the people who own the other block of land also have rights. Their right is to, as long as they meet the requirements of Albury City Council, which are permitted through government, New South Wales government, as long as they meet those requirements, they can too also do what they want to do with their block of land. In this instance, the person wants to build, whomever that person is, wants to build 2 houses. It meets the requirements. I believe we need to allow this to happen. So I support Councillor Cameron's motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blackman. There appears to be no further questions or speakers for or against. Councillor Cameron, did you wish to close debate?
No, thank you, Mayor Mac.
Happy to put this motion by division. All those in favour? Councillor Baker, Bullivant, Bukowski, Cameron, Mack, Hudson, Glacken and King. Those against? Councillor Callaghan. Thank you. The motion is carried. 13.3, development application 10.2025.41401.1 to lot Torrens title subdivision 843 Pearsall Street, Hamlin Valley. Councillor Callaghan.
I'd like to move an alternative motion, please. Mayor Mac, emailed it to Ros on the fly, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
May I please have my paper back if that's okay, just for the minute?
Your paper.
Yeah. Mine. Thank you. I'd like to move the recommendation that council receive and note the report, and B, defer consideration of the matter until the next available council meeting and request further information at upcoming council committee, actually at the upcoming pre-meeting briefing session meeting. There's one in the calendar?
You're endorsing new code of meeting practice.
Okay. Okay. Further information at the upcoming council committee meeting of the capacity, of the site to accommodate on-site sewage management and the cost availability of sewer to the site. Thank you.
Thank you. Seconder, thanks. Any seconder? Councillor Hudson.
Happy to second it, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan, do you wish to speak to that?
Just briefly, you know, it was said earlier in the presentation that it technically and should be approved by Mr. Hunter. And in the debate, I'm so sorry, I've forgotten. Apologies. I felt like most of the DA responses here, 1 to 5, were quite clearly refuted. It's very similar to a development application that we just approved in Splitters Creek, where a family wanted to subdivide and was also quite a contentious subdevelopment. I suppose I don't want to deny the family the opportunity if alternative options can be found by refusing it this evening. And based on what I can see on looking at mapping, your neighbours seem to have subdivided, and there seems to be 2 houses next to each other with 2 septic tanks within a few hundred metres. So I don't want to refuse it. I think I'd like to learn more about the development, and we haven't been briefed on it as such. And yeah, it just happened on the fly when the presentation was happening. So I think there is an opportunity for this to happen, but might need to explore that further.
Thank you. Speaker against, Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I speak against the alternative motion, and I would like to move an amendment to the alternative motion, which is that Council A, receive and note the report, and B, approve development application 10.2025.41401.1 for 2 lot Torrance title subdivisions at 834 Pearsall Street, Hamilton Valley. And if I can get a seconder for that amendment, I will speak to it, Mayor Mac.
Councillor King.
Happy to support the motion to listen to debate.
I'll just wait for it to appear on the screen. Councillor Cameron.
Or just
Just what I've said.
better, thank you.
Say when, Mayor Mac.
Waiting.
So am I. Christmas will come.
Yeah, we miss your candle when you're not here.
You won't be here, so you won't miss it.
I won't be here. Okay. Is that, as you said, Councillor Cameron?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mac.
I have a question from Councillor Hudson. Are you happy to take the question?
No, I'd like to speak.
Okay.
Thank you. So I've been on council, Mayor Mac, and councillor since 2012, and I did a term in the 90s. And I have dealt with thousands, along with my fellow councillors over the years, of development applications, although not so many in the 90s as I spoke of earlier because of the Development Corporation. But I don't think I've seen many with more merit than this application. I think it's actually quite heartwarming what the proponents are trying to achieve here with their family. And I've got to say that the principal issue that is being raised to recommend that we don't approve this is the provision or the existence of a septic tank in a street where everybody has a septic tank. I mean, come on, this is silly. It's actually silly. We need to get a bit of practicality. This is a good argument for why the state government is doing what the state government's doing, because all around the state, there are councils doing silly things like this, like quibbling over the provision of one more septic tank in a street of septic tanks. If we don't have the flexibility to approve such a meritorious application with such a slight impact on the cityscape, then I think, we really should give the game away. I would urge councillors to support my amendment tonight, and I would urge you to approve this very meritorious application, which is not only reasonable, it is quite a heartwarming, in my opinion, application. And I would entreat you to consider that with the approach of the Christmas season and the celebration of the birth of our Lord, that you act accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron, for your entreaty. Question, Councillor Hudson. I have 3 questions. I don't know if it's because of how you finished, but Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. Through you to the most relevant member of staff. Without speaking for the motion, I'm also inclined to support this application because I don't think that the majority of the objections to it, I think they're reasonable in a vacuum, but I think looking at this development in its context, they become unreasonable. My question really is, we usually approve development applications with conditions which are contained within a report. Does the report that we have before us have reasonable conditions with which to approve the application.
Mr Christie?
Thank you for the question. And for you, Mayor Mac, no, there are no conditions contained within the report. So yes, normally, obviously, an application would be approved subject to conditions that'll deal with whatever relevant issues the councillors believe need to be approved, whether they relate to on-site sewer or a whole variety of other components.
Follow?
Follow-up question. What are the risks of approving this development application without conditions then, as you said?
Mr Christie?
Thank you for the question and for you, Mayor Mac. Well, the first basic risk is if there's no plan endorsed, then the lot could be 1 square metre or 5,000 square kilometres. I'm being deliberately facetious because obviously the first condition A1 refers to a set of plans. So at the bare minimum, that would be a requirement to refer to a set of plans, and there's normally a number of other relevant requirements which council may consider around on-site sewer management, stuff that may be considered prior to issue of construction certificate, stormwater design plans, etc. Might be relevant for it, which would normally be outlined in conditions of consent.
Thank you.
Point of order, councillor
I
Plummer.
hope will be constructive. As the mover of the amendment, I would be happy to incorporate any suggested or required consents that any other councillor might like to move by way of amendment to my amendment.
Thank you. Happy to accept that. Councillor Glacken, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor, to the most relevant member of staff. With this current motion on the board, the amendment, if it was to be approved without any conditions, or with some conditions relative to a septic tank situation, at the moment, the staff report recommends that it be refused on the basis that the intended plan, does not meet the requirements for the septic tank because of some physical limitations. What would enable this development to proceed, as is the intention of the developer, with reference in particular to the septic tank, that would make it approvable if it was possible?
Mr Christie?
Thank you for the question, and for you, Mayor Mac, I would have to take that on notice because our internal referral to environmental health did dispute the land capability assessment and the suitability site as a result. It doesn't then determine what would be needed to make suitable because it's assessment of the information provided. So I would have to take some advice as to what would then be able to resolve that dispute with our environmental health team.
Thank you. And a follow-up through you,
Yes, for
Mr
sure.
Mayor. On that basis, if the current amendment was not to be accepted and the other motion, alternative motion to postpone or defer determination tonight, would then enable those questions to be answered and a presentation to be provided on various options, etc., to the staff. Is that correct?
Mr Christie?
And thank you for the question, and for you, Mayor Mac, will enable us obviously to go back to the applicant, which we have already done twice, but to go back to them a third time and seek some further consideration of the issues that have been raised, and that information could be provided further to council for consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Christie. Thanks, councillor Glacken. Question, councillor Bullman?
Thank you, Mayor Mac, and appropriately it's in debate. I can ask the relevant member of staff a suitable question. Given that, sorry, through you, Mayor Mac, to the relevant member of staff. Given that Splitters Creek is all run on septics, and part of Pearsall Street and part of the other areas are, if this development approval got up as an approval, I would expect a flood of other applications that may come through for the council. So what can we put in place with conditions on this one to, if possibly conditions to make it possibly happen, or we look at it completely as a whole new motion, and just to get some clarity around the septic part of it?
Thank you for the question, and for you, Mayor Mac, and I did attempt to address this earlier. Obviously, the issue, first of all, is all development applications go with the land, not with individuals associated with the land. So hence recommendations are always what we call tenure agnostic from a planning perspective, because they need to assume that anyone can act upon that development consent, not the personal circumstances either for or against from an individual application. So obviously, I did mention earlier the one in Logan Road where council had declined it on basis of not dissimilar component. Another thing obviously for consideration in regards to from whatever word, a street full of septic tanks. My apologies if I've misphrased or paraphrased incorrectly. Obviously, areas that are undergoing development do change those natures. There are obviously septic tanks out in Faguna for a fair while. You then develop in accordance with general residential R1 and you come out and you bring out services accordingly. Yes, there are a number of properties in Pearsall Street. If you go west along Pearsall Street, you could argue full of septic tanks. If you go east along Pearsall Street, there's not as many septic tanks once you get to the Burrows Road intersection and other more developed areas which are R1, just general residential. So planning controls a lot of time try to set, as we just talked about with the structure plan, future direction for an area, which doesn't always reflect the existing design and character of existing areas, but sets what council's expectation for are as they develop. And that becomes the challenge when you're starting to deal with areas undergoing redevelopment and when it is appropriate to utilise existing measures which might be consistent within the character of an area, and where you're saying, no, this is general residential, therefore services are expected, whether those services are road, stormwater, sewer or the like. And obviously a decision that you may make may open up that opportunity for others to ask the same question in the same scenario.
No follow-up? I hope there isn't a lot of flooded septic tanks. Question, councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor Mac, to you through the most appropriate member of staff. Can it be explained to me and the other councillors, what is it about the physical nature of the block in question that leads to the recommendation that it's not suitable for septic tank when so many other septic tanks exist in close proximity?
Mr. Christie?
Sorry, I wasn't finished.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. What is it about the physiology or the geology or the terrain, physical features I'm interested in now, not theoretical planning concepts, but the physiology of the block that gives rise to a concern about a septic tank?
Mr. Christie?
Thank you for the question. A few, Mayor Mac, and my apologies, Councillor Cameron. I believe I did attempt to answer that question earlier in regards to Councillor Quacken's question. I would have to take that on notice. I'm not an expert in regards to land capability assessments. I get that advice from our environmental health team, and they're the ones who raise concerns. I would not be able to answer you with a full duty of care of knowing the answer. I'm going to give you the theoretical answer.
Thank you. I apologise for not listening more closely to the debate.
Thank you. Question, councillor Callaghan. I have two speakers against.
Just for clarification, I suppose what we were debating tonight is the subdivision, not the development on the subdivision. Am I correct in thinking that?
Mr. Christie?
It would be another DA process that would come to us when we come back with plans and when they want to do the septic?
Thank you for the question for you, Mayor Mac. Yes, that is correct. Same as just the previous was consideration of a development, but that did also require the connection of sewer. And obviously we deal with large numbers of subdivisions, whether they're 2 lots or 200 lots, and the consideration of demands from that development are considered at the subdivision stage. So we require, for example, different scale, but 200 lot subdivisions to provide roads, sewer, water, stormwater, even though there's no physical demand created on those blocks yet because there's no dwellings on them.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay. Speaker against, councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I do speak against this motion, and I want to assure the proponent, for what it's worth, that not because I don't think the development should go ahead, because I do. And I think it's clear to me that the rules that we have in place are intended to capture, say, a property developer subdividing the lot into many dwellings. And that's clearly not the case in this scenario. So I'm more than happy to support the DA. I just think it would be deeply irresponsible of us to, and this is totally depersonalized, it's got nothing to do with the proponent or the individual application. We can't approve a DA with no conditions on it. And we also can't come up with conditions on the fly that would also be deeply irresponsible. So I support the original alternatively moved motion which was to defer decision on this until we can get a report back from the staff, because we are not planning experts here. We rely on the professional advice of our staff. So we can't come up with conditions on the fly. That would be ludicrous. And I think it's very reasonable that we receive a report back to us that speaks to the issues around the septic system, so that we can then make this decision responsibly in hopefully the not too distant future. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Hudson. I was speaker 4, but I have a question from councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. Through you to the most appropriate member of staff. Can staff confirm that the amendment that I've proposed and has been seconded by councillor King, if adopted and if ultimately successful, is legal?
Mr. Christie.
Thank you for the question and for you, Mayor Mack, and I definitely don't purport to be a lawyer. But in regards to planning matters, then normally our conditions where we approve would refer to an attachment which would have a detailed suite of conditions, and I couldn't go and amend those post the council resolution because they were endorsed at the council resolution.
Sorry, Mayor Mack, I don't think the question was answered. Is there any legal reason why council could not resolve that motion should it choose to?
Thank you for the question for you, Mayor Mack.
Through you to any appropriate member of staff.
I don't believe there is any reason why council legally could not attach conditions, could not approve development without conditions of consent, but the clarity then is around what has been approved. As a condition of consent, not only outline what has been approved, as I mentioned earlier in reference to the plans, but also in regards to any other matters that need to be satisfied prior to issue of a subdivision work certificate and a subdivision and the creation of those parcels of land, which may also include or not infrastructure contributions to plans or the like that may be required to be satisfied if they're not outlined in the resolution by either reference to an attachment or by the actual inclusion of those conditions as part of the resolution.
Mr. Christie, just to follow up on that, in relation, when you talk about plans or other issues on the subdivision, are you specifically talking about ingress, egress and sewer and stormwater? You're not talking about a house plan, you're talking about infrastructure. Is that correct?
For you, Mayor, thank you for the question for you, Mayor Mack. Yes, in terms of what is it the council's actually approving and what conditions need to be satisfied prior to going to the next stages, which is subdivision work certificate and then the endorsement of the subdivision certificate or linen plan.
Thank you. No worries. Speaker 4, councillor Callaghan.
Well, there's such a lot going on with this. I want to speak for it because I'd like to endorse it. I would also like to foreshadow that if this is lost, we go back to the alternative. However, can we not put a C on here that requests conditions come forward for development consent conditions to make sure it's satisfied before we go to the next stage?
Mr. Christie, is that a question?
I think that's what you were saying before, but I couldn't quite elicit.
Is that a question or are you speaking?
It's a question.
Thank you.
Can it
So
be
it's
a C?
question, Mr. Christie, not speaking for.
That's it. Thank you for the question and for you, Mayor Mack. Again, bit of an unusual situation, thinking our way through it. But if C, for example, might have said to come to a future council meeting with recommended condition of consent, that could then be endorsed at a future council or committee meeting. That might be the way, but it obviously couldn't be issued prior to that next council committee meeting, which would endorse those conditions of consent. I mean, there's a bit of an unusual situation here, so we are trying to work our way through it. So I'm happy if I get the advice that I can give to you subsequent to this, that may change.
Thank you. Would you be open to an amendment to your amendment with a C? Yeah. Great.
Councillor Bukowski, do you have a solution? Open all ears.
Just in terms of the options that were provided in the report, option 2 says approve the application for further information or redesign. So can that just not be a motion that we put?
If
Council?
Councillor Bukowski was to move that, Mayor Mack, and as the mover of the amendment, and if it is agreeable to Councillor King, the second of the amendment, I'd be very happy to accept that and change my amendment to that.
Thank you. Councillor King, are you comfortable with that?
I'm comfortable with that.
Is that option 2?
Option 2. Councillor Prokowski, could you read that out again, please?
Please vote. Option 2 of the report. So it's just approve the application for further information or redesign. That council approve the application for further information or redesign.
Doesn't like it. You don't mind.
Or. It's or, not and.
You have the amended amendment on the board. We'll continue on, I believe. Speaker against or question from Councillor Hudson?
Thank you, Mayor Mac. Sorry, I'm just reading it. Just to clarify, this was an alternate option that was presented in the report.
That's
Sorry,
right.
my docs on tap is not working.
Approve the application for further information.
Okay, all right. Well, in that case, fine.
Yep.
Okay, my question is then, given that the motion is materially changed in my view, are we able to speak for it again or not? Given that I've already spoken for it, but it's now it's amended now, so.
Spoke again.
That's the amendment.
Yes.
I suggest that Councillor Hudson is actually correct. It has changed substantially.
I was
And there
about
should
to
be-
rule on it.
Really?
Yeah, I was about to accept that.
I'm sorry, I should have known you didn't need my help.
Thank you. Not appearing anything but to respectful, Councillor Cameron. Speaker against, Councillor Baker. We've been waiting very patiently.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I've had my light on for a long time. I would speak against this. I'd like to move another amendment, which is defer the application for further information or redesign. I don't think we can do a 360 on what council officers have suggested on a whim or take a 5-minute presentation to switch. I think we'll get the information we need if we defer this. I'm particularly interested in the sewer hookup costing, how much it would cost to connect to the main. I'd be also interested to see what added value it would give to the subdivision when it's eventually sold, if there's already sewer connected to that property. I'd just like to get more information, and I thought the original deferral was okay. I was very uncomfortable when we went along the track that we're just going to approve it and turn the whole thing over. And I think option 3 gives everyone a better chance to look at this in depth. I would love to see Max living on that property, and I think it's sensible, but I also very much aware of what could happen next if we just go against what is planning for Albury City. So yeah, I think the sensible and logical one is defer the application for further information, and that's what I am proposing if I can get a seconder.
Seconder, thanks. Councillor Bullivant.
Yeah, happy to second that, Mayor Mac.
So now we have a second amendment on the floor. Councillor Baker, do you wish to open debate on that? Yes, Councillor Cameron.
I think it is incumbent on you as chair to deal with the First Amendment before entertaining any other amendments.
They're amending an amendment, Councillor Cameron. Okay.
No.
I think it needs to be foreshadowed as an alternative amendment. So at this point, we'll continue with yours, and Councillor Baker, you were speaking against that. Do you comfortable with what you've just said, or?
Thank you. I'd like to speak against the amendment just brought forward a minute ago to approve the application for further information or redesign, and foreshadow that in the event of that failing, where we're going to not make any decision tonight, and I'll move or foreshadow that we go to option 3, which is defer the application for further information. And that's all I've got to say. There's not much else to say on this.
Thank you. There are no speakers for at this point for the amendment, the First Amendment. Councillor Glacken speaking against. I have a question from Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. Materially, what is the difference between if we pass this motion now compared to if we defer? Because if we're approving it for further information or redesign, surely that's essentially the same as deferring it. Is that not the case? Through you to the most relevant member of staff.
Mr. Christie.
Thank you for the question, and for you, Mayor Mac. I guess there is the fundamental decision of deferring, not committing council to a decision, committing council to consider further information. The only thing I would request, obviously, if there might be some clarity around the further information or redesign that's being sought, so it can be clear that we can address it. Again, I know it's been clear in the debate, but it just needs to be clear in the resolution so we can act upon that accordingly as staff.
That's Callahan.
I'd like to move that we put the motion. I think we've had enough debate for and against, but enough people have.
I'd have a second that the motion be put. Thanks. Councillor King.
To second the motion.
Okay, I'm putting that motion that the motion be put. All those in favour? Those against? Your motion has been lost. We continue debate. Councillor Glacken speaking against.
Thank you. Okay, so just to confirm, I'm speaking against Councillor Cameron's motion.
Amendment, yep.
Amendment, which is to approve the development application.
Yep.
And I speak against this because I really want us to get further information. I think there are some pieces of information that we would benefit from if we had, and then we can make a decision. In one of the answers provided to us by staff tonight, they said that they are agnostic about a development with reference to who is doing that development. It is that parcel of land that they're dealing with. And so I am conscious that we want to deal with that parcel of land within the DCP for Albury City. What I don't want to do is have the unintended consequences that knock-on effect in years to come when something changes. Now, Councillor Baker has already referred to interested in hearing about what the added value to that property. Should they put the sewer through when ultimately someone may want to develop it? And we've already been told tonight by the speaker in the community forum that that is their intended outcome in the future. I'm concerned with what happens if they do this development, they get what they want, and that's a second house that's on a septic tank that doesn't meet the requirements of Albury City now. And then in the future, if they want to sell that property, then what happens? How does that work for Albury City Council? We've already had it explained to us by the staff that ultimately we want the community, or our city, our residences, to be using the sewer. That's what the sewer is there for. It's there to provide hygienic solutions for the waste product from houses. And that's for now and into the future. And I understand that septic tanks have serviced numerous houses for a very long period of time. But the ultimate aim is that, and it was explained to us tonight by by the speaker prior to the meeting, that is something that will happen one day when a larger development goes through. So I don't want to make a mistake now. I want us to have further information and then we can make a decision based on that information. At the moment, we're flipping and flopping. It clearly shows that we don't yet know, based on the information that we have, really which way we should go. So I think I cannot approve this development at the moment. I look forward to receiving further information so that we can make a decision that is the right decision for that longer term. And I therefore would support deferring the decision. And I'm not even, I'm not committed to deferring based on receiving further information, whatever the option 3, I think it was, defer the option 3. I would prefer us to defer determination of this application. That's my preference. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor King, have a question?
Just a little confused which amendment where, which motion
We're
where.
dealing with the original amendment that Councillor Cameron moved because Councillor Baker foreshadowed an alternative amendment. Yes.
Has been improved by the suggestion of Councillor Bukowski.
Yes.
It's now identical to one of the options presented in the original report, option 2.
Yes, correct. But it's still the
Which further,
amendment.
which inherent in it calls for further information or redesign.
Thank you. Councillor King, how did that go?
Thank you. Following the bouncing ball.
You seen that game week? Yeah.
I-
Okay. Councillor Cameron, there no further debate. Did you wish to close?
Sure do,
debate
Mayor
on
Mac,
your
but I'll
amendment?
be succinct. Councillors, I'd urge you all to bring yourselves down to earth and look at the simple facts of this matter. Simple facts of this matter is that the proponents seek to have a small sub-development in order to provide a family home for members of their family in an area that is resplendent with many, many septic tanks. The motion concerns have been raised by one speaker that, you know, we're deviating from the council's officer's recommendation. We get the hoary old chestnut that the council, they are the experts and we must follow them in some sort of robotic fashion. The reality is that this is an option presented by the staff in the report. This is option 2. That's all it is. Option 2 presented by the staff. It must surely be a legitimate option because it was presented in the report by the staff. To say otherwise is to cast doubt on the legitimacy of the report, which I'm sure none of us would think of doing. I thank Councillor Glacken for elucidation as to the functions of a sewage system. It was very interesting. I never stop learning things while I'm on Albury City Council. So thank you for that, Councillor Glacken. In all seriousness, this is a good outcome and it's a practical outcome and it's a safe outcome. What it is saying is that we approve the development, but with certain conditions, and those conditions being that we want further information and or redesign as to how the sewage matter would be dealt with, that ever so important matter of the sewage. I say further too, let's not conflate things about the connection of a sewage service with this DA. As was made perfectly clear by the proponents tonight, their intention is to have a property developer, not themselves, but sell it to some property developer, some member of the predatory capitalist class that we're so abundantly supplied with in the city of Albury, who will then go out and make no doubt millions of dollars by connecting a sewage or standing on their heads or doing any other thing that council in the future may resolve that they should do so they can further line their pockets and celebrate down the Albury Club. But that is not the proponents tonight. That is not this, ladies and gentlemen, and that is not this family who are simply trying to provide a family home to members of their family with a sewage tank in an area where everybody's got a sewage tank nearly. I mean, be practical, be reasonable, support this safe and sensible amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Cameron. Now I'm putting the amendment as indicated on the board. Those in favour of this amended motion, raise their hand in a division. We've got councillor Bukowski, councillor Cameron, councillor Mack, councillor Callaghan, councillor Hudson and councillor King. Those against, councillor Baker, councillor Bullivant and councillor Glacken. The amendment is one and the motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Motion, the amendment becomes a motion. That's right. So councillor Cameron, did you wish to open debate on that motion?
Mayor Mack.
You're not interested? Are there any more speakers for or against this motion? Happy to put this motion. All those in favour by division, councillor Bukowski, councillor Cameron, councillor Mack, councillor Callaghan, councillor Hudson and councillor King, councillor Glacken. All those against, we've got councillor Baker and councillor Bullivant. The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors.
Yeah. Yes.
We might have a quick break, I believe. The agenda is quite lengthy. Pause the stream. Thank you, councillors. CM 13.4 budget variance report. Are we back on? Yep, thank you. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Bullivant.
I move the recommendation that A, the council receive and note material variance outlined above, and that these budget adjustments will be made in the December quarterly budget review, and B, the Albury City development policies to cover wages, internal recovery on costs and salary positions vacancy offsets.
Thank you. Seconder.
Happy to second the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bullivant, did you wish to speak to that?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mac. 13.4 million in the budget variance is quite a variance, but I've got a little bit to say here about this, as you are probably all aware. It's 14 months we were and are elected to look after the city, its services, its future and its financial well-being. Right now, we're dealing with pressures that require us to be upfront, realistic and willing to make some difficult decisions. Our budget isn't where it needs to be, and if we don't take action, the impact on our community will only increase. The challenges in front of us are well known. Ongoing cost shifting from other levels of government, increasing expectations around service delivery, inflation and workforce shortages, and major infrastructure demands that will continue over the next decade. These aren't issues of our creation, but they are our responsibility to manage. Choosing to sit still simply isn't viable. We need to refocus and bring our spending back in line so Albury City can return to a sustainable financial position. This means, 1, putting essential services and key infrastructure first. What keeps the city operating day to day? 2, holding off discretionary or nice to have spending where it's sensible to do so. 3, taking another look at major projects with a clear lens, what we can afford, how they affect the community, whether they deliver long-term value and whether the timing is right given our debt position. 4, strengthening revenue only where it is fair and reasonable and without undermining the livability of our city or placing unnecessary pressure on local businesses. 5, continuing to push strongly for appropriate funding from state and federal governments, particularly where responsibilities have been handed to councils without the matching resources. We also have a responsibility to be upfront with our community. They deserve to clearly understand the financial situation we're facing and the choices that come with it. Leadership isn't always comfortable, but it does require honesty. This is a moment that calls for working together. It asks us to focus on constructive solutions rather than division or point scoring. If we approach this as a shared commitment to a really realistic, disciplined and defensible budget, we will be acting in the long-term interest of Albury. Our community won't judge us by how loudly we speak, but how responsibly we respond to the challenges in front of us. Let's make the adjustments we need now so we can look back and say we made the right decisions when it truly counted. And I believe as a group, we have the right skill sets to right the wrongs going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. No speakers against. Speakers for. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I'd like to compliment Councillor Bullivant on his words and his speech. I agree with them wholeheartedly. They were well thought out, well articulated, and are very, very accurate indeed. For my part, it was only 6 months ago that we did the budget, and councillors, every councillor in this chamber, was assured that the reducing deficit, as it was projected to be, was $11 million, circa $11 million. It was with great shock that I found out, and we found out several months later, that that wasn't accurate, that the real figure was much higher. I've got to say, in all the time I've been involved in local government, I've never had that experience. I've never been proceeding on one set of assumptions provided to me by the senior staff, and then suddenly had and I must say, communicated to me in a very unsatisfactory fashion, which I'm also very angry about, that the position was much more dire. I reflect on what Councillor Bullivant has said, and I agree with. This city is now in a very dire position, I believe. We have to work very hard to maximise income where it's reasonable to do so, and to minimise expenditure where it's reasonable to do so, while still delivering the core functions to our ratepayers. For my part, I'm sure we all have our own ideas and our own preferences and prejudices even of where money should be cut from or not cut from. I have long foreshadowed and long fought against the expansion and the scale of Mama, for example. I predicted, and I believe I am right, that it would become an unaffordable situation, and I think we'll let the events unfold as they unfold. But I believe I'm being vindicated in that view that I've held since 2012. I think there are other areas where in the recent decade or the last decade, the city has prided itself on putting a lot of money into the arts. And I don't know whether we can continue to do that, frankly. But these are my views only. I'm one of 9 people that now has to decide how we balance the books again. I don't want to see staff suffer. I don't want to see wholesale reductions in staff or compulsory reductions in staff. That's a function of my particular, once again, belief system and political values. But I believe, and I know, that we have to manage the budget and bring it back into the black. Albury City has an enviable reputation in local government circles as being a solvent and being a strong financial council at a time when many councils are fiscal basket cases. It saddens me deeply at this point, and all the years I've been involved with Albury City Council, to find ourselves in this position, only 6 months after we were assured that the budget deficit was around 11 million and was reducing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. No speakers against. Speaker for, Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. I speak for this report and this motion, and note that it's with reference to the variation with wages. It's really not changing those wages. It's simply the way in which those figures have been put into the system because of the internal recovery and on costs and the vacancy offsets, and it's getting those components right. So that's what we're dealing with this report. It's reallocating those components. So they're the variations that we're dealing with tonight. We're not dealing with anything else. It's simply to receive and note that they're in different amounts in different areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. No speakers against. Speaker for, Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I'm going to speak a bit broadly about the budget because it's really impacted by this budget variance report. And as a returning councillor, I think I left in the last councillor group thinking we were in a little bit of debt, but it was really manageable. That debt has continued to fluctuate over time from 12 million to 20 to 27.5 to 34.5 million. And now we're faced with this $13.4 million budget variance. It's time to get back on track. I'm confident Mr. Hastie and the team are doing just that. This is setting the record straight, essentially. This is accounting that should have been happening already, and I'm glad to see that it has, and I'm glad to see that it's up front. And we really need to get back on track and move forward and understand what our debt levels are and and manage them well and stop living beyond our means where possible. So thank you for the report. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Callaghan. There are no other speakers for or against or questions. Question, Councillor Bullivant.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. To the relevant member of staff, please.
Yes.
Does the budget variance represent a cost blowout, or are they new costs going forward?
Mr. Hastie, you can answer that one. Ms. Leopold.
Thank you, Councillor Bullivant, for the question, and through you, Mayor Mac. I think sort of has been reiterated and as spelled out through the paper, these are not additional costs. It's not a deterioration in our position. These are actually an accounting mechanism and the way that payroll has been budgeted for through our different systems. So no, it doesn't constitute a cost blowout or any new costs that we're incurring.
Follow up.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. Why has it been identified now, and what is being done to make sure that this won't happen again?
You?
Gail, would you like to answer that one?
Sevens Bar.
Thank you for your question through you, Mayor Mac. There's various reasons why this has been accounted for now. I would say that in terms of historically, we've had new systems that have come on board, and some of the budgeting that has been put forward in those systems has meant that we have not been in a position that we've had complete clarity on the figures to date. The work that the team have been doing to go and I guess rectify some of that position, but also present the figures that you see today, have meant that we've been able to put forward the updated figures. Yeah.
And one final one. You may, Mayor Mac, what does this mean for the council's finances, given that in the report it's an $18 to $21 million deficit?
Mr. Hastie.
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mayor Mac. Look, ultimately, this means as a start that the general fund deficit of 10.3 million will be adjusted, and that will be adjusted to about circa 21 million at the moment. So that's a live estimate of where the budget is today. However, we're still working through the process of getting everything ready for our December quarter. It does mean that this will be adjusted as part of the December quarter. It still means that we're solvent. We can still deliver services. We can still pay our staff. But our intention was to really provide this information to the council quickly to help in aiding decisions. That for changes, potential operational changes regarding projects and or operations that might be happening throughout the year.
And a follow-up, please, Mayor Mac.
Yes, Councillor.
Given that we're getting our accounting in order now, and we're trying, crystal balling, so to speak, can we expect any other variances coming forward that we haven't found before?
Mr. Hastie.
Thank you for the question through you, Mayor Mac. I guess the team is really looking into this hard at the moment. Like there are some cases where we're looking into sale of land that we're interested in. We are building new assets at Lauren Jackson Sports Centre, which means that there are assets that potentially will need to be written off because they're no longer, they've got some value, and in which case they may be required to be written off. These all take time. The team is really working hard at the moment to get as much of this information available now. So it's hard to say, but we are doing our efforts to find everything we can.
Comfortable. Speaker 4, Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I do speak for this, and I thank the staff for the work that they've done. I think that council's finances are hugely complex, and certainly as a new councillor on this term, it's without a background in finance. It's certainly been an area that I have found probably most challenging, and certainly from the community's perspective, hearing about a large variance might sound quite scary or concerning. I think what we can all take from it, though, is that the work that the staff have done to identify these variances actually gives us more confidence in our accounts moving forward. And I think even more important than identifying that we've had deficiencies in our accounting practices, it's that we're making sure that we can avoid them in the future. And so I commend the staff for taking the proactive step to actually develop policies that will, clarify our accounting systems moving forward so that, this sort of thing doesn't happen again. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hudson. Speaker 4, Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I also support this motion and note that it's really trying to look at our finances in real time without the delays that have been cropping up, and we find out after the fact months and months later. So it's a welcome change, and I think we'll just get better information and we can deal with it quicker. Thank you.
Thank you. There appears to be no further questions or debate. Just to sum up, I too would like to congratulate the financial team, Mr. Hastie and your team. It's been a very difficult time and a lot of stress and pressure being placed on your operations. And prior, I think March early this year, we did ask for an internal audit, which I can happily say is completed, but you've had to endure that as well. And that will become public record at the appropriate time. But I think this is a good way forward. And I think, again, I congratulate you and your staff. And I think to sustain this journey for as long as you have is credit to your resilience, and certainly the support you provide us is invaluable, and we need to make the responsible decisions, and this is where we make those decisions. And on that point, I think again that the councillors themselves have been quite resilient and understanding. I think that really is part of that all in, and we certainly respect what you've had to do and how you've achieved it. So thank you. Councillor Beloved, did you wish to close debate?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Mac. Just reiterating what the fellow councillors said, we appreciate the work that the operational team does, the finance team, the deputy CEOs, under difficult circumstances over the last few weeks. We're well aware of the circumstances, but thank you for your work. And all we require as councillors is true and accurate data that comes to us to make decisions on behalf of our residents. And thank you for your work.
Thank you. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Those against, the motion is carried. CM 13.5, contract 25/01698, renewal of sewer infrastructure at SBS 37 Gelbart Road. Councillor Clacken.
Thank you. Through you to move the recommendation as a motion that council pursuant to section 1781A of the New South Wales Local Government General Regulation 2021 resolves to accept the tender from Interflow Proprietary Limited and award contract number 25/01698, renewal of sewer infrastructure at SBS 37 Gelbart Road for the tendered lump sum price of $1,732,286.42, which includes GST. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron, do you wish to second that?
I do. Thank you, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. I have a question from Councillor Hudson. Councillor Clacken, you comfortable for me to take that? Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac, through you to the most relevant member of staff. Just quickly, I noted in the report that the other tenderer, Trenchless, offered two tenders. One was an alternate, and it mentioned that it was essentially a different technology that could provide a design life that exceeds 50 years. It was obviously the most expensive tender, but I just wondered if the staff could elaborate on the assessment process, whether there was a potential of paying more now to pay less later because we don't have to renew it as frequently, that sort of thing.
Mr. Lawson.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Through you, Mayor Mac. I guess based on the assessment process, and if you look at the qualitative components as opposed to the pricing or in conjunction with the pricing, the assessment panel determined that obviously the benefit of the Interflow submission far outweighed the extra benefit that the trenchless solution might have provided, and obviously that cost difference, so that the economic benefit was obviously not there to select that alternative solution.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Clacken, do you wish to open debate on that item?
Simply highlight that the lump sum component is less than the quoted figure that was used as an estimate for this project, which is absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No further question or debate. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. We're up to the 13.6 contract 25/02554 Burrows Road reconstruction, Logan Road and Union Road. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Clacken.
Thank you. Through you to move the recommendation as a motion that council pursuant to section 1781A of the New South Wales Local Government General Regulation 2021 resolves to accept the tender from Exide Grey Brunei and award contract number 25/02554 Burrows Road reconstruction, Logan Road to Union Road for the tendered lump sum price of $1,879,400, including GST, and approves the reallocation of $275,000, including GST, in funding from savings realised from Lauren Jackson Sports Centre major upgrade project budgeted at a future 2025-26 quarterly budget review to complete this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
I'd like to second that, Mayor Mac, please.
Thank you. Councillor Clacken, do you wish to speak to that?
This is important work, just as the last report was as well. It's ensuring that our city grows, develops, continues we have the appropriate maintenance and infrastructure provision. Yes, it is a little bit more. The other one was a little bit less. It's all part of that process. Councillor Bullivant asked, will there be any other variations? As the life of council continues on, there will always be variations. There will be the ebb and the flow of everything that we do. There will be nothing that ever comes in right on target. And so I believe that we should accept this tender tonight and continue the good work of council. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Glacken. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. CM 13.7, contract 25/02428, Thurgoona Link Road Stage 5 reconstruction and water main. Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. I'd like to move that council pursuant to section 178(1)(a) of the Local Government General Regulation 2021, New South Wales resolves to accept the tender from Excel Grey Bruni Proprietary Limited and award contract 25/02428, the Thurgoona Link Road Stage 5 Kerr Road reconstruction and water main upgrade for the tendering lump sum price of $7,238,557.26, including GST.
Sound like an auctioneer. Okay, seconder, councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Happy to second.
Councillor Cameron, did you wish to?
I was inspired by the
Open
tip that
debate.
I did not get on the Wodonga races, Mayor Mac.
Yes.
I
Did you
don't
wish to
speak,
open
thank you.
debate? No. Councillor Glack, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, simply to highlight that the budget allocated figure was 8.14 million. This has come in under. Again, this is an example of things. There are the ups and downs, but it's pretty similar. It shows that council's staff, when they're doing these estimates for the budget allocations, are usually pretty close. And so, again, I support this to ensure that council continues to grow, develop, and provide the infrastructure that we do need to provide to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. No further speakers for or against. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. 13.8, Oddies Creek Park, Splash Park, public exhibition submissions. Councillor Cameron.
I'd like to move the recommendation, which is that council A, receives and notes the community feedback received through the public exhibition process. B, endorses the final version of the Oddies Creek Splash Park concept design. C, continues the project through the detailed design phase and considers staging to align with the available funding in accordance with the design contract and project budget of up to $5 million. And D, receives the final detailed design prior to commencing a procurement process for the construction of Oddies Creek Splash Park.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron, do you wish to speak to that?
Only very briefly, Mayor Mac, this is a worthy project. It will be a great addition to our city and we look forward to seeing it progress.
Thank you. Councillor Glack, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Through you to the most relevant member of staff. This project is part of what we originally had called as the regional deal. And it's one of the numerous projects that we had with the city of Wodonga. Noting that and my question is with reference to the value. So it's a 50-50 sharing by the federal government. Can I be reminded of the other projects that have either had 50-50 or better and what those projects are, the better projects, on the basis that we need to, in the current climate, be mindful of what we are approving, but we don't want to not approve things that are a golden opportunity.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Ambrose Glass.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Councillor Glacken, and through you, Mayor Mac. Other projects that were funded under the former regional deal, now known as Albury-Wodonga Regional Projects, include $5 million for emergency response infrastructure at the airport. Obviously, there's $25 million that's been allocated to the Albury Entertainment Centre Convention Wing redevelopment that has got, and the Splash Park from on an Albury side. I think that as well as there was an allocation around critical worker housing as well, key worker housing, I should say. And from an Albury perspective, obviously there's projects on the Wodonga side of the border as well.
Thank you. Councillor Baker, you have a question?
Yes, please, Mayor Mac. Is it too early to know if there's reticulated water being used in this splash park, whether or not a lifeguard is required, and whether or not an incident like what happened in Wodonga pool, in the babies pool, where there was a contamination issue and it was closed for more than 24 hours? Is it a foolproof splash park, or does it require maintenance, ongoing costs and the like, or is it too early to say?
Mr. Costello.
Thanks very much for the for the question, Councillor Baker. Through you, Mayor Mac. Whilst we're obviously still in the design phase, a lot of the finer details do need to be sorted out. But in relation to the first query around lifeguards, so the splash park itself is deemed to be what's called a zero depth splash park, with water depths less than 30 centimetres, which don't require a lifeguard on duty. In terms of the water itself, it is through a reticulated system on site with tanks, and so it does require testing and the like. So depending on the sizing of the system and the network and number of sprays and all those sorts of things go into the sizing, and that information would come through the detailed design phase.
Follow-up?
Yeah, one more. It's still too early, I know, but will it be enclosed in the night, or is it open to access at all time?
Mr. Costello.
Thanks very much for the question, Councillor Baker, and through you, Mayor Mac. So the splash park is anticipated to be fenced off with the Oddies Creek Park playground area, and so that playground as it is now is currently locked overnight and open first thing in the morning. So it be endeavoured at this stage to run in conjunction with that Oddies Creek playground, but noting there would be operational hours when the actual water is running, but by and large, outside of those hours, the area is fenced off and locked to the general public.
Okay, thank you. Question, Councillor Callaghan.
Through you, Mayor Mac, through to Mr. Costello. Can I just have clarifying? I'm not sure if it was right, but it's 30 centimetre depth.
Mr. Costello.
Yeah, thanks very much for the question, Councillor Callaghan, and through you, Mayor Mac. It's less than 30 centimetres in depth. So that's the maximum amount. My understanding is once you trigger that point, you then incur the requirement for a lifeguard. So the design intent is absolutely to ensure that there'd be no requirement for lifeguard, and so that requirement would be adhered to throughout the design process.
Thank you, Mr. Costello. Speaker for, Councillor Glacken, no speakers against.
Thank you. Yes, to speak for, and I speak in particular for this staff recommendation as opposed to the other options. One of the other options was to renegotiate the project or seek renegotiation of the project with the Australian government, and I would urge against us doing that with any of the projects that we've been offered the opportunity to have funding for, on the basis that it's a golden opportunity to achieve something for significantly less for our community. This is a 50% discount. It is a product that will cost us to run annually. It's not something that there will be a fee for service for this. It will be a cost to council, but it is one of those many facilities that the community has been asking for numerous years. It is an opportunity for us to progress this. And I note and highlight that we will receive a final detailed design prior to commencing a procurement process. This is not the final decision to be made by council, which was another alternative option as well. I think this is the appropriate option so that we can make sure we get the best projects ready and available for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. No speakers against. Speaker for, Councillor Callaghan.
Yes, thank you. I'm happy to be brief as well, but it's a free splash park for our region, and there's been overwhelming support for a splash park in our community for years now. It is a safer option than the river, and it provides that for families, but it's a multi-generational type of splash park that we've been shown. It also celebrates and embeds First Nations culture and some storytelling through the different elements that I was a part of the conversation at the Aboriginal Advisory Committee, which was really well received. The other thing I suppose that really needs to be touched on is, we're talking budgets tonight, and yes, we've been so fortunate to get that $2.5 million allocation, but like many of our projects might need to be staged over time. I noticed in our budget we had $3.425 million allocated, which really can deliver core projects now, and seeing that top up over time to meet the goal and to meet that original commitment of a deed of $5 million. But gives us flexibility in a tight capital budget environment at the moment, but we've got money in the kitty at the moment to proceed with it once those concept designs come back to us, and we all are agreed upon that. So looking forward to seeing the next phase of the project unravel. Thank you.
Thank you. No further speakers. Councillor Cameron, do you wish to close debate?
No, thank you, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. CM 13.9 Albury Place Space Strategy Stakeholder Engagement Plan. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Through you to move this recommendation as a motion that council endorses the stakeholder engagement plan for the Albury City Place Space Strategy.
Thank you. Second, Councillor Bukowski.
Happy to second the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken, do you wish to speak to that?
Yes, it's important that we provide this opportunity to our community. I see it as an opportunity because we need to rationalise our spaces. We're a city that's over 100 years old. We've had various developments over time. What we need to ensure is that we have quality versus quantity, and we need to make sure we've got the right spaces in the right places. This is an opportunity for us to be able to communicate with our community, to engage, to ask them what they like, what they don't like, where they like it, where they don't like it, and for us to be able to take this forward with an aim of rationalising the spaces we have. We have, as it is explained in the report, an oversupply of spaces. Not all of the spaces are appropriate for all of the people. We want to make sure we get the best spaces and the most appropriate spaces for the majority of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, there are no further speakers for or against. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. CM 13.10 Draft 2025 Code of Meeting Practice Public Exhibition Submissions. Councillor Cameron.
I'd like to move that Council A receive a note to 3 submissions, 3 resulting from public exhibition of the draft Albury Code of Meeting Practice, and B, adopt the 2025 Albury Code of Meeting Practice.
Thank you. Councillor King.
You to second the motion?
Thank you. Councillor Cameron, did you wish to speak to that at all?
Well, only to point out, Mayor Mac, that one of the 3 was in relation to parking meters.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Glacken, you wish to speak for the motion?
Yes, one of the 3 referenced the limiting of video attendance and thought it was a backward step. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron, do you wish to close debate? There are no
Thank you,
further
Mayor Mac.
speakers. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. 13.11 Establishment of Council Committees and Draft 2026 Council Meeting Schedule. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I'd like to move that Council A endorse the proposed establishment of 2 committees of council: Infrastructure, Planning, Environment and Business Growth and Community, in alignment with the draft 2025 Albury Code of Meeting Practice. B, resolve that the committees will operate as forums for information sharing and to seek feedback, and may consider council officers' reports and make recommendations to council. C, call for councillor nominations for each committee, and D, endorse the draft meeting schedule for 2026 as presented.
Thank you. Councillor Bullivant.
Happy to second that, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron, do you wish to speak to that?
Briefly, Mayor Mac, the way council operates now is not, of course, the way that it has operated for most of its history. It was an innovation introduced and moved, as I recall, from Councillor John Stutchbury, which sought to deal with a particular situation that council was in at that time. The situation prior to that was that we had several committees. My memory fails me, but I think there were 4, if I'm correct. And what occurred was that everybody, except me, wanted to be on every committee, which I don't disparage people's reasons for wanting to do that. If they want to do that, that's fine. But it does kind of make the point of having a committee, Mr. Mayor, pointless. The idea of committees is to consider non-contentious and other issues of council business and make recommendations to the full monthly council meeting, which then adopts them in globo. And we'll get a bit of a masterclass in that in a little while going on. But the only thing I'd say to my fellow councillors is think about what committees you want to be on. Don't worry if you're not on some of the committees, because the matters recommended by the committee are just that, they're recommendations. They have to be adopted by the full council when the time comes. And if you're not happy with the recommendation, you'll have an opportunity to contest that, to pull it out of the report and deal with it individually. And if everybody goes on every committee, well, they're not really committees anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Glacken, no speakers against. Speaker for.
Thank you. I encourage councillors to consider this tonight, because I think it's an opportunity for us to consider a number of items more than once. And I have always found in my time on council, it's always been much more beneficial to me as an individual councillor, but I think also provides us with the opportunity as a group to make the best decisions, because it enables us to have more than one glance, more than one review, more than one opportunity to ask questions. And I have changed my view on areas of council or on reports that have come forward and presentations that we've received based on the discussion and the questioning and the deliberations. And so I think it's a good opportunity for us to continue to make good decisions, just in a different way. I also encourage councillors to be a member of every committee, because that enables us to have the greatest opportunity for input. It's all about that representation and participation. The other thing I remind councillors is that we get an opportunity to look at the meeting schedule annually. We get an opportunity to look at the establishment or the committee and meeting practice on an annual basis as well. So if this doesn't work, we can tweak it and we can change it. It's not set in stone, as Councillor Cameron has reminded us. We've had committees before. We've got to make sure we have the vehicles that get us to the best decisions and the best outcomes for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. No speakers against. Speaker for, Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. I do speak for this motion, principally to just point out that the reason why we are doing this is because we have been forced into doing it by, in my view, a Minister of Local Government who is out of touch. We've dealt with the same issue 3 times tonight now. The Minister of Local Government is trying to fix a problem which simply does not exist in Albury. It may have existed in other councils. Where there wasn't transparency around council briefings. That wasn't the case in Albury. And in many ways, in some councils anyway, this will actually be a backward step, and it will actually make things less transparent, and it will actually impose on their ability to provide community forums and public forums during meetings and that sort of thing. So look, this is fixing a problem that we didn't have in Albury, in my view, but I look forward to being a member of all the committees. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hudson. There are no further speakers for or questions. I'm happy to call for members of both committees. First, we'll start with the committee in relation to infrastructure, planning, environment, business. Yes.
And I'm prepared to accept that I may be wrong.
Yes.
It does occur.
Does it?
And, yeah, occasionally.
Yeah.
And that I don't know everything.
Yes.
But-
Gee, this is amazing.
No, but should we not first deal with the motion and then call the nomination?
Well, the motion is asking to call for the council's nominations for each committee.
Yeah, but we should adopt the motion first and then call for them and then give it back to the motion. You know?
Okay. All right. I'll move the motion. All those in, did you wish to close debate? Horatio. Hercules.
I'll be brief.
Thank you.
I simply want to say that I take issue with the comments from Councillor Hudson. The Minister, Ron Honig, is one of the most experienced practitioners and members of local government that this state and indeed this country has ever seen. He is, in my estimation, the finest local government minister we've ever had or ever will have. Thank you.
I didn't know that was part of the motion. Okay, I'm happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? I now call for committee membership for the infrastructure, planning and environment and business. Well, it's in the motion. Right.
Separated.
People stopped asking questions. I might not have the delirium I currently have. Okay. Please, by show of hands, indicate if you wish to be part of that first foremost committee. We have Councillor Baker, Councillor Bullivant, Councillor Bukowski, Councillor Callaghan, Councillor Hudson, Councillor Glacken and Councillor King, and myself as the chair. I'm an automatic vote. So Councillor, they're all the councillors we have on that committee. Councillor Cameron is not part of that committee. Just pointing that out, Councillor Cameron. The second committee, because it's not compulsory, the second committee is Business, Growth and Community. Councillor, show of hands, who wishes to be part of that committee? Councillor Baker, Councillor Councillor Bukowski, Councillor Callaghan, Councillor Hudson, Councillor Glacken, Councillor King, Councillor Mack. Those committees are set in stone for the next 12-month period, and thank you, councillors, for your forbearance. Question. Yes, Councillor
A
Baker.
question relating to this, just because you put your hand up for a committee doesn't mean that attendance is
compulsory. That's
Yeah,
correct.
So, thank you.
Thank you. But they will be live streamed. Okay, moving on to the next item, which is officer reports for noting. Councillor Hudson. Yes? Yes. Yeah, Councillor Cameron.
I'd like to propose that councillor deal with officers' reports for noting CM 14.1 through to CM 14.5 in globo, and that we adopt, if we're agreed, that we adopt each of those reports in globo through one motion.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken. Happy to second that. Okay, I'm happy to put that motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Those reports are adopted in globo. Okay, moving into the remainder of that, we have no delegates' reports for noting, no notice of urgent business.
There is a matter I
You
need
have
to
a-
raise.
Oh, wow.
I regret.
Tell me about
that.
Yep.
Mayor Mack and councillors, I'll be very brief, and I'm cognizant of the hour and the good work done tonight, and a couple of the bits of bad work. But I've been contacted by a ratepayer, which is an interesting thing, and that ratepayer pointed out that we used to have Saturday morning sessions where people could come in and see councillors, and I think there's some. Yeah, it's urgent.
Is it urgent or emergent, councillor? Okay. Continue. Super urgent.
And
I
it-
don't see super urgent.
Well, I'll come to it.
Okay.
This particular ratepayer was taking clean fill to the Albury Waste Facility,
Yes.
and he was charged for it. And on our website, apparently, it was declared that to take clean fill to the I'll call it the tip, because I'm old fashioned over Arrested Development, that to take clean fill to the tip did not incur a cost. Now, he claims to have been in contact with council staff who have done, it would seem, good work in reversing his charge and making an effort to reimburse him. But he has pointed out that this may have in fact happened to many of the residents and ratepayers of our city. And I would like to ask, as a matter of urgency, if through you to the most appropriate member of staff, who may be the CEO, I would think, the acting CEO, that this matter be examined to the degree possible and a report prepared for council or information conveyed to council as quickly as possible to determine, have we been charging residents and ratepayers since January 2025 to deposit clean fill at the tip? And if we have, why was it on our website that they are not charged? Thank you.
Thank you. It wasn't the first part of your urgent business that we have, councillor.
No, I
Hey.
just simply was relaying the fact that he had raised that issue in getting in contact with me because he had some difficulty in contacting a councillor. And naturally, he wanted someone who was approachable, affable and knowledgeable.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Enough is enough. Ms Leopold.
I just check from Mr. Millett if that's okay regarding the arrangements for Cleanfield, but can certainly agree to look into the matter and bring a report to council.
Mr Millett. Wow.
Sorry, just trying to turn the mic on, then turned it off. Thank you for the question and through you, Mayor Mack. Look, and as acting CEO mentioned, we can certainly investigate any instances that occurred with us charging for clean fill where it was inappropriate. What came to our attention through this incident was that there was actually an inconsistency within our fees and charges, where one section of the fees and charges mentioned that clean fill was no charge, and another section that mentioned it was. So, but we can certainly follow up on that request.
The obvious question, I don't think you'll need to be clairvoyant to know what I'm going to ask you. Do we or do we not charge for clean fill then?
Thank you for the further question. And through you, Mayor Mack, the intention of the fees and charges was to have a small charge for clean fill. What was inconsistent within the fees and charge document was that there was a description within one section that left clean fill in the commentary.
Well, it would seem that this resident has done a good service to the people of Albury and the council by bringing this to our attention. And I would hope that we're able to identify all the people that we have charged and reimburse them in a similar fashion.
Mr Millett.
Thank you for the statement. And we
He's
can,
asking, are we able to? I
yeah,
believe.
we can certainly,
You
as
can take it
already
as you
mentioned,
want.
as mentioned, we will look into that.
Thank you, councillor Cameron. And then if there's no other urgent business, which councillor Glacken, do you have urgent business?
No.
Oh, thank goodness for that. Okay, confidential matter, councillor Glacken.
Thank you. I would like to propose that we move I move that we move into confidential matters. Item 17.1, reference to Thurgoona Link Road project land acquisition update, confidential item, exclusive press and public on the grounds that the matters and information are the following. Information that would, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage on the person with whom the council is conducting or proposes to conduct business. D, commercial information of confidential nature that would, if disclosed, prejudice the commercial position of the person who supplied it. That's with reference to Local Government Act 1993, number 30, section 10A2 CDI. And 17.2, confidential legal update on infrastructure, confidential item, exclusive press and public on the grounds that the matters and information are the following. G, advice concerning litigation or advice that would otherwise be privileged from production in legal proceedings on the grounds that legal professional privilege, Local Government Act 1993, section number 30, section 10A to G. Thank you.
Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second.
Thank you. I need to ask anyone in the chamber that can see any reason why we shouldn't go into confidential, and if they have any further submissions. Appears to be no one left, so I assume we don't. I'll need to put that motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? Councillors close at 9:44 PM. Okay, I need to remind the live stream viewers the motion to move into confidential has now been carried. For our live stream viewers, we will now say goodbye. You can find the outcome of this confidential session in the meeting minutes, which are published on the Albury City website within 2 business days. Okay.